Welcome everybody to the final day, the very last day of the PUBG Mobile Europe Community Tournament. My name is Imperium and I'm with the handsome, talented, the wonderful Zute to bring you all the action in the last 4 games, the do or die moments, the now or nevers, whatever you want to call it, of all of these teams and the challenge they've put forth over the last 2.5 weeks.
This is where it kind of all boils down to. And the teams at this point, there's no more excuses to be made. Like, especially this being the very last day. Like, give it your all. If you struggle throughout the rest of the tournament and you struggle here again today, then I don't know what else to say. But looking at the overall rankings, one team that has definitely not struggled would be the France community. Both the French teams have been absolutely stellar in performance, almost pretty much matching each other in terms of pacing and the points gathered.
It's been pretty crazy when you really look at how consistent both the teams have and the community as a whole have been. 516 elimination points, 536 placement points. It's hard to overall fathom over what has been 3 weeks of action that they've just consistently time after time performed, controlled and to an extent dominated the lobbies. But it's not over yet. It's not done completely. The opportunity is still there for Romania. It's a tough hill to climb, a very tough hill to climb. I believe a good 73 points behind France. For Romania, we know what they are capable of. Eastern Stars, the PMGC team, right? The currently the best team in Europe right now, right? 4 Romanian men, a reformed roster, having players from 4 Romanian boys, the strength, the might. They stepped up big time in week 3. Can Romania get it done?
They would be looking to do some hot drops, like either hot drops
you think
or planned rotations where you cut off some of the French community teams from, making it into the late game. They have to. It's a 70-point difference, considering France gets 0 points in the entirety of today. And we've seen when they have a lead, they will extend that lead. At one point, they had a 100-point lead, and they extended it to like 150, if not more. So it's like they're not the type of team to just take a chill pill just because they have a lead or they feel like they've secured their spot. They will still absolutely dominate the map if you give them the chance to. And 4 Romanian men, between the 4 Romanian men and Eastern Stars, I would rather put it on the 4 Romanian men to go ahead and target some of these teams.
Okay.
In my opinion, the 4 Romanian men is just more of an aggressive type team. We've seen them take those isolated 4v4s more often. Eastern Stars, they don't do it as much. They stick to more so like their style of gameplay with rotations and setups. And yeah, so it would be the 4 Romanian men, but maybe even the Eastern Stars. I mean, they have nothing to lose. Sure, they can miss out on 2nd place. But when you're a team like the Eastern Stars and 4 Romanian men with so much experience already, I feel like this is the type of tournament where you go for that 1st place. Like, just 2nd place is nice. You might drop down to 3rd. But I'm pretty confident that those 2 teams are the types of teams I would rather go for 1st place in a community-style tournament like this.
We did see an element of cutting off, because I think that's a really great point that you put on board. I think it was the first game yesterday where Eastern Stars kind of engaged on game board outside of Yasnaya, but again, it was that element of cutting off that we saw. So you do bring up a good point. And yeah, okay, technically, if they go for targeted plays and they lose those targeted fights and, they don't gather the points, the risk is there for them to drop down to 3rd. But like you said, this is the kind of situation where you just go for broke, go for 1st. I know Eastern Stars, and I've mentioned it already, they're not the kind of team that likes to hot drop. They're a very respectful team, which I don't hold that against them. But in the world of like competitive play, where within the rules you do whatever you need to do to come out on top, this is a situation where they maybe need to find that aggression, find that 0 Fs to give. Say the Game Lord. Sup, bitch?
Oh, yep. We had a moment with that reference yesterday. It was quite nice. Yeah, so Group D is not playing today. It's going to be Red Moon, Mega Power, Greek Army, and 7UP sitting out. So we do have all the other teams you saw earlier, all the teams that will be participating today. These will be the last 4 matches of the entirety of this tournament. And just one more thing to add, it's like, this is not qualifiers for anything else, right? This is it. This is the final day. This is the do or die moment. So with that being said, I do want to see some teams take some hot drops, even if it's not so much to say, you know, it's because we want to take over this position from this other team. Just like, you know, go out with a bang. That's pretty much all I'm saying to the rest of all of these teams.
Definitely craziness of the last day. A region I'd like to see do something like that is Italy. Not so much because of the position. They're in 4th place. It's pretty elimination points comparative to their 417 placement points. I know that's over a massive amount of games, so in theory, it's not that bad. But when you compare it to Germany, Romania, and France, like Germany are 472 elimination points, Romania 481. I do want to see a little bit more aggression from the Italian community in today's games.
And not just, you know, to balance out the placement points and the kill points. It's quite literally like, it's a factor that, you know, kind of hinders them, right? They're not too
exactly
with fighting. Like over the course of the years, you see with PMGC teams, the top level teams, typically their kill points and placement points are very even. They match each other. The top teams have a good balance of being able to do both. So yeah, we're asking for a little more action, a little bit more like, you know, bang, so to say. But for the teams like Italy, the 2 communities representing them, it's also for the sake of their own practice to get better as a team. Like that is their weak point that they should look and work to focus on.
Well, the playing path is here. It's pretty diagonal. It's not too bad. The eastern side less approachable. I reckon Eastern Stars will go to Starbar Kameshki. It makes the most sense on this kind of playing path.
They will be dropping out a little bit later on the playing path. We see Lemniscate going towards the military base side. That does mean, though... Okay, all right. Now, I think everyone should be okay on this plane path. Taking a look at it now. Yeah, this plane path, not the best, but honestly pretty decent. It's diagonal enough that it does stretch out to the middle northeast of the map. So teams towards the top end can still get to where they want to go to on the eastern side. And around the middle area, you see there's only like maybe one team trying to float over to the mansion side. And I mean, we're so many days into this tournament. The teams are so familiar with each other. Not just that, the same amount of teams, or the same teams, just played yesterday. So this is a back-to-back for them. So they should have no issues whatsoever in terms of knowing where everyone is dropping based on the different plane paths.
Circle.
Oh, never mind.
Pops up. An early engagement by Louis onto one of the YMCA players. That's definitely a YMCA mistake. They should know by now that Bravas kind of split drop, and I think if you're going to kind of drop, it should have been as a full squad onto one of those small compounds. You probably would have more easily picked off Lewis without suffering a casualty. Not really much Lewis can do because he's on his own due to the rest of the team. Split drop, being towards the side of the window, does get the knock into K2. Pre-fire shots with the UMP, has to switch on over to the M16. He's going to look for another one. Nearly gets a second knock. It's going to come through, not quite. Lark saves the day. Oh man, Lewis put up a hell of a fight.
Oh, he definitely did. I do like how YMCA, one of the players did not have a weapon, so he purposely ran just right in front of his face to distract him. So the guy with a gun could come in and clean that one up. But YMCA did lose one player. You mentioned YMCA's mistake. I agree. If you're gonna be dropping for a vehicle, and that vehicle spawn might be near a compound, you always drop towards the compound first, and then go towards the vehicle. Otherwise, you're caught out in the open, like the YMCA player was, who got knocked and confirmed.
For sure. It's one of those things. Bravos maybe could have dropped a little bit tighter together.
Yes.
However, but then again, I kind of don't really hold it against him too much, because when we saw yesterday, Lemniscate go into Military Island, for example, Chasmac more towards kind of the north side. It honestly, I wasn't expecting YMCA to kind of be where they ended up going on that drop, so maybe that's why I have a little bit more of a sympathy for Bravos losing that player.
Well, I'm coming in today critical as ever, and I just gotta say, no, Bravos should not have lost any player. They should not have dropped that far into that side of the road, simply because vehicle spawns do appear near that area.
Yeah, fair enough.
And the plane stretches just far enough for teams to like send their whole team there, not to contest the vehicle or the drop area, but to simply land there to continue rotating. So you got to make that little adjustment in your head. Sure, you have your set split drop. You take here, you take there, you take here. But if you're the player that's dropping a bit further, you have to take it upon yourself to consider what other teams might be dropping towards this area and how many of them there might be, and adjust from there. Like, I wouldn't mind if it was a split and Bravos ended up in a 1v1. Then it's like, okay, you considered it. You're going to take your ones. Yeah. You're going to stall for your team to come in, and they're going to do vice versa. But in that case, he dropped in a 1v4 situation, and that's something that he needs to be able to, deduce from the plane path as a potential problem. So
for sure, and that's where it kind of, I'll always try and use this when it comes to decision making within PUBG Mobile. It's the percentage game, right? So to use a bit of an analogy, if you're walking across the road, okay. If you want to walk across the road, using a pedestrian crossing isn't going to guarantee you don't get knocked over. You don't get hit by a car.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
It's a much higher percentage of a chance that it's not going to happen because it's a dedicated pedestrian crossing. Right?
Yeah.
Compared to just trying to walk across the road without a pedestrian crossing. It's the same principle. If you see that kind of parachute situation and you have that, you still continue with that split drop, there's a percentage chance that you survive if you're on your own. But if you adjust that drop and you have more players with you, there's a much higher percentage chance that you're going to survive. That's what I mean by that analogy. And that's why I talk about the percentage game when it comes to PUBG Mobile a lot.
Okay. No, yeah, that makes absolute sense right there. So we haven't talked about the first circle, but there's really not much to talk about. It's just straight smack dab in the middle of the map. That's as central as I've probably seen it in a while. And there is a potential that, the circles might keep shifting north, which might make things interesting. But, Real Tiger 9 with a lovely grenade right there onto the 4 Romanian men. If we could see Real Tiger 9 take a fight and beat out 4 Romanian men, I mean, Romania really needs these points. Don't get me wrong. They're trying to get that first place position. But Real Tiger 9, this is not a team that this is a team I'd be really happy with if they could take a fight with 4 Romanian and take them out. As I love this that buddy threw that. He's gonna go for the confirmation. The trade support is there. This Real Tiger 9 team playing so aggressive, but notice it's aggressive in a very strategic way. Both of these players wanted to prioritize this location at the start of the fight, and they both ended up coming here at the same time. Now Mango, he's got to readjust himself as the 4 Romanian men send 2 more players to lock down this location to win the fight.
I don't see Mango really surviving. He should just try and wrap around. There you go. That's really well played by Mango. He has to use every element of support and pressure that he has around him. Because of how Mango readjusted his teammates in the back line, that's allowed him not only to survive, but to control being given over to the rest of his team. That's a lovely spray by 4 Romanian men, and then Rana steps up over the lip of the hill and gets a knock on the Mango. Because of that knock onto Nazgod, that's what allowed 4 Romanian men, the duo, to push up and take down Mango. One knock, and all crumbles apart for Real Tiger 9.
Ooh, that fight was beautiful though, because
wasn't it?
I want to highlight, yes, the beginning knock, great grenade, but when we saw those 2 players go towards that little hillside fight where we saw a majority of the fight take place.
Yes.
Real Tiger 9 wanted to secure that location down to pinch in the 4 Romanian men because they were to the west of that on the mountaintop.
Yeah.
But the 4 Romanian men recognized that immediately as that being a strategic weak point of theirs, so they sent their player there at the same time. We saw 2 players pretty much meet there at the exact same moment, so both teams thinking just as fast, recognizing, look, 100 meters away, this location is going to be pivotal to our fight, whether it be aggressive or defensive. And we saw that beautiful 1v1 come out, and then the 4 Romanian men, I think they just had the more vehicles at hand and ready, so they sent another 2 players. And if I were to be super hypercritical, I think Real Tiger 9, they had the right idea, but Nazgod should have been the one to stay at the compound area for the supporting fire.
Oh yeah, I agree.
And the last surviving member of Real Tiger 9, you saw how close he was to a buggy, right? He should have grabbed the buggy and then drove over to provide more of a, you know, close range 2-2 fight with 1 player in the back being Nazgod.
Fully agree. Yeah, of course, because 2 players in backline support in that kind of situation, in that moment, is totally worthless in my opinion. So you're dead right about Nazgod, and that's why I kind of highlighted as well the fact that 1 player getting knocked is just that domino effect of the whole moment crumbling for Real Tiger. Now, either way, this game is going on. Big being able to pick up an elimination point onto one of the Glore players upon their rotation, something that Glore. One of the glaring things in my eyes that Glore needs to improve on is the timing of the rotations. Too many times they've gotten caught out by Big, in my opinion. And it's happening once again. Mihi stays in the backline, Times takes a bit of damage. Glore Leonardo does get a knock onto Times. Mazzaro is going to be also in the backline. I don't really agree with 2 players in the backline for Big if they're going to really push this Glore position, but lovely nade by Mazzaro trying to suppress Glore before the rest of the team joins up closer. Yeah, it's Mihi driving forward to provide support to Mazzaro and possibly get the revive.
Supporting fire angle from Big absolutely stops what Glore is able to do, even though they got that knock and they're pressured in right now. Glore only down to 2 players. I think Big, you know, of course, realizes this, so they're pressing in on their aggression. Now it's going to be a 4v1 very soon. As soon as the knocked Big player gets revived, I see him still. Is he getting revived, or are they just going to forego that revive for now and finish this fight out? Which I don't mind. Okay, no, he was getting revived. That's why the push is taking so long to come out. But now, full revive. We're going to push in onto this last Glore player. They do and eliminate them, and that's big for Big out from the Germanic side.
Yeah, I can't argue with that push. And again, Mihi getting in the vehicle and joining up with Mazzaro was pretty simple, calculated thing to pull off. Facing Blue Zone about 2/3 of the way through. YMCA got engaged upon by the side of Chazmak, and they're down to 1 player. Ketu's just going to be hanging around and hoping he can survive as the next circle is about to pop up. Shifts up north. Oh, damn, Zute. It's a tough one.
That's a really tough one. I said unless if the circle hard shifts up north, we should be seeing a pretty standard Erangel game, and lo and behold, I feel like this is worse than the circle north of Rosok when the river's in play. Because now you got way less playable area in the center of the map. That little mini island in the middle of that map right there. No hard cover whatsoever. Some trees and not even dips. There's not even really dips. It's just sprawled out trees on flat ground. So I don't think anyone's going to be able to take a position in the center of the map either. And that creates like a little bit of a black hole in the middle where no teams will go to. And everyone's going to be centered around that area. Maybe even we get 2 or 3 teams in ROSAC, even though it's on the edge. Just there's so there's so little playable land left.
For sure. We kind of saw the 100 heading towards ROSAC, but I think they recognized that Eastern Stars were in front of them, and Game Lord have been able to find the 100, and they conquered them. Sweet team fight engagement by Game Lord. Sees them get 4 eliminations without suffering any kind of casualty. Like you said, I wouldn't be surprised if we have 2 to 3 teams in ROSAC. 14 minutes in. Difficult circle to deal with.
Game Lord's still doing well, though, for themselves. They hold that first place position comfortably, but they're not letting up the gas. They're taking these early team fights, even in the blue, out of zone, because they're confident in their gun skills. They're confident in being able to take out teams. 4 Romanian men getting into fight with Eastern Stars in the kill feed. I think Eastern Stars did just lose 1 player, confirmed by the side of 4 Romanian men.
Then you hate to see the irony of the community that really needs to, from a result standpoint, band together to get more points in France and overtake them. Low-key taking each other out.
Yeah. I mean, teamwork is not the name of the game here. We've already said multiple times, these teams are not technically, teaming up with one another, but their points will just add up together. But yeah, taking out members of your own team community will definitely hurt your overall chances of getting more points. La Familia taking a nice little readjustment on their rotation. They're going to take advantage of the blue, circle back around. They only got 2 members, and they don't have the best of vehicles to try and rotate on straight in. So they're gonna try a wrapping rotation, and they're going towards the hardship side. Which is
but
good.
Look at Big. Look how aware of that they are.
Big was the one gatekeeping them. So they saw that motorcycle go up north, and they're gonna match it. And Big. Oh, that is. I love this Big team right now, man. And we've seen them take a lot of fights early game. Now we're seeing some more fights more out of the late game, but they're keeping their spacing. Look at that northwest side. They kept their spacing the whole time. They didn't just dead set tunnel vision on, some eliminations. They're keeping up their formations. And yeah, this next circle shift, well, now we're definitely going to see 2 to 3 teams in ROSAC, if not more, Imperium.
Eastern Stars probably have the most comfortable position inside this circle. It's on that very northwestern high ground edge of ROSAC. But of course, anything can happen. Down towards the southern side, Game Lord, Chazmak. Now on the southwest, Brava's taking a couple of shots on towards Uncanny. You have Rexmec inside Watertown. Super Mikkel looking for the M4 sprays onto any of the Uncanny players. Can't really find his target.
Uncanny keeping their heads tucked down deep in those dips. Will manage to stay alive. Big still has to make their way in. Big did a wrapping rotation down back towards the south. So they have a little bit less time to work with as far as fighting their way in. So we're going to need to see some fast, big aggression.
Go.
And here it comes out. They're going to just drive straight up this hill, take that fight with Lemon
Perfect.
After they remove Lemon
God.
they got more to go. Like, this is looking good for Big, but honestly, this is not enough time for them to work with. You see that blue zone closing in. Even if they eliminate this team, they got another team to contend and gatekeep against.
But that's fine.
So.
That's fine. They're already on 8 eliminations. They pick up the 2 here, the 2 there, maybe another full squad. That's going to be 12 eliminations. I say go for it, Big. Focus. Feel the rhythm, feel the rhyme, get them up. It's big time. They're going to go for it. And even pushing a little bit forward so they can get the pinch on towards Lemon Escape. Shots on the Beast. 2 players left up for the side of Lemon Escape. Versace, S-triple-K. Beast gets 1. Dips around. Now going to reevaluate what he's going to do. The jump shot comes in for Sachi on a sliver of health. He's going to get found out. And Big, like, I know my tongue got tied. Their shots didn't get tied. They were accurate as can be.
That was pretty good. I feel like if I were to be hypercritical, could have been done a little bit better where they keep all 3 players up, if not 4 from the earlier engagement.
I agree.
But Big does get those points in. Kind of worries me a little bit, though, just simply because what are they going to do with 2 members now into the late game, right?
Well, weren't you the one that kind of said to me originally, and I know it tends to be one person, weren't you the kind of person that said to me, sometimes it's okay to lose a player if it's for the overall betterment of the team's performance, the team's result? I say that was the case with Big in that moment.
No.
Overall.
I say that when you're holding a split towards the late game.
Okay.
And you want to pressure out teams so you end up top 3 versus not playing split and keeping 4 up and then getting crushed in by everybody around you. Like, for this, when you're a team edging in, like, I'm just hypercritical of Big because we've seen them close out late games fighting their way in. This time around, they're not going to be able to do that with just 2. And they did take a lot of fights on the way in. Sure, they literally won all their fights. That is absolutely great. But we've seen Big do this and win the game towards the late game. And I feel like it just could have done a little bit cleaner because we've seen them do it much cleaner.
I agree.
Even though that was really good.
For sure. It was a little bit sloppy per se. But the next circle popped up. It's gone once again towards Rozhok. Game 1 of the final day. And we're looking at a juicy Rozhok City finish. They could still shift down the southwest on phase 6. The Eastern Stars on that northern high ground. Game Lord on the southern high ground. The Rozhok Hill is theirs to conquer. They pick up another one onto Bravis with the help of 4 Romanian men. Robs with the DP-28.
I love Game Lord's positioning. They have 3 on the high ground, but they keep 1 player in the back outside of the zone, the anchor point.
Exactly.
So no teams can drive in from behind them and set up a push. And if they try to, Game Lord will have 3 players on the hill shooting at them, and then the player out of zone causing a nuisance too. So always having their formation structured really well, this Game Lord team. Looking absolutely beautiful here. Chasma coming in on that western side, and Rex, well, this is a full send that they just kind of got to make, and they're going to pick a central position. Salazar hitting the wall. Immediately, though, he's going to try and run in for one of these compounds for safety.
He takes a bit of damage, but is able to survive. Respect, they normally drop in Rozhok, but it's one thing looting Rozhok, it's another thing fighting in Rozhok, especially with the amount of teams that are chasing around. What I do like about Game Lord is that they have sent now another player a little bit deeper on towards that southwestern edge of the circle. I think that was the kind of breaching point for an opposing team such as Chasmak or even possibly Big. So having Narvello deeper in does make sense. Mihi. It's going to find his shots in the Shadow N. You don't turn your back on the Big Shadow N. Give him an inch, they're going to take a mile, but the fight is far from over. The communication from Big in that moment is just so good. Accurately
the grenade
pushed.
Does not connect.
The Acer will be pushed upon by Game Lord though from a distance to backstab the third party. Pocus is now left on his own, and there you go. Beast gets the job done. Like, I know this is something that we should expect from Mihi and Beast because these 2 players have been a duo in multiple teams for the last like year and a half, 2 years. But it's still wonderful to witness. It's still wonderful to look at and point out how damn good they played that.
So the way Big is playing right now, that is your prime example of how to be an edge team, not need to worry about getting circle luck, and just fighting your way in. Big just did that with 2 players. Sure, they had 4 to begin with, and you saw the numerous fights they had to take to get to this point. Overall, if they were to go out right now, this is a great game. 13 eliminations, if not more, plus, 6th place in placement points. This is exactly what an edge team needs to it's a team that, you should study if you do want to plan on being an edge team, which I think overall is a better superior meta playstyle. Knowing how to edge in and fight it.
I agree. Game Lord sends Narvello once again into the circle as an anchor point on the Rozhok building. I don't think there's any reason to have more than 1 player committing inside those buildings. Me tries to get into the window of the building. I understand it. Desperate times call for desperate measures. Beast stands up, stands tall, does get the knock, but Spicy is there to help his teammate. Talk about going down fighting.
Yeah, I also love what Beast or Big did there. They had a buggy, but they knew having one player on the back is certain death, so they had one try and snake in and maybe confirm another point. Just, you know, being sneaky. So, really good job out of Big. They do get eliminated. Decent game for them. Now, we do have the Eastern Stars in the north and Game Lord in the south. Two gigantic juggernaut of teams that's going to be looking to pinch and absolutely cannibalize everything in the middle before they end up fighting each other.
But also, 4 Romanian men are into the top 5 now. They are being pinched, taken out, and they have been eliminated by Gaynor, but still a top 5 finish for 4 Romanian men, plus now a top 4 finish for the side of Eastern Stars. Again, community, those points banding together, trying to edge closer and closer to France in the community board. It is possible game by game, but the final 4 teams have been found in the first game of the day. Bravos, Respect, Eastern Stars, and Game Lord.
The number 1 team, or the number 1 community, is France, and we still have Game Lord in here with 4 players, and they control a dominant side of the circle, the whole entire south side, and they send 1 player to anchor over the northern side on the northeast. They have about 80% map control. The circle shifts away from them in every way possible, but they're pretty much set up to close out this game. Now, the Eastern Stars do have 3, but they have 2 players of other teams around them that's more likely to focus on Eastern Stars than to focus on the Game Lord team.
I kind of disagree. The only situation I really see Game Lord controlling this game, based on the circle shift, is if they send 3 players over to that Eastern side to support, or 2 other players to support Spicy. I think that's going to be their true entry point into controlling the circle. They send 1 over, which I can get. 2-2 split makes sense, but I just don't think the southern edge of that circle, the southern side of Rosshawk, is really going to stick inside the next phase.
I was thinking they would just cross the road with 3 and just play spread amongst the walls. Like, you see how little players are left. You have that 1 player on the eastern side, have that cross point anchor. So even though your players are on the wall, we'll see how this one works. This 2-2 split, it's doable. There's a lot of different ways to approach this fight. All it really comes down to is, no matter which way you approach it, is the execution itself, right? Don't peek too hard. Don't get knocked. Don't get grenaded. Don't stay in one spot for too long and give your position away to get grenaded. All of those little tactics do need to come into play, as Bravos gets a knock onto Eastern Stars. And then, almost confirmed by the Gang Lord side, but it looks like Eastern Stars will be able to get that revive. And
no! Octavian! What's this? It's all falling apart for Eastern Stars. Morphe boy being a thorn in the side as he fights in from the western edge of phase 7. Northern 8 being cooked up. He has full control of where Bazzi is. Unfortunately, just a tiny bit overcooked. But I get the panic might have been there. Game Order now looking to push in, and the jump shot comes through for Narvello. Bye-bye, Eastern Stars. Friend says, au revoir to you as we get into our top 3. Respect, Bravos, Game Lord. By the way, 2 of the top 3 Spanish teams. Nice one, guys, but not for long. Down goes Bravos, and Respect. Raspu just huddles in the corner, the top floor of the building, knows that his number is over. Nothing much he can do in Game Lord. First game of the day. They get the chicken dinner.
It's a walk
I don't know
in the
what
park.
to say, man. I don't know what to say,
It's a walk in the park for Game Lord. It's a walk in the park for Game Lord. Circle by circle, position by position. Just defensive split setups by defensive split setups. Then you anchor in certain positions. You send one over, anchor point that position, support that anchor point, get the crossfire. get the long range,
Yeah.
you know, shots in, pass the info over, keep track of kill feed, hit your shots, hit your nades.
Yeah.
That's just what they did throughout the entirety of the game, step by step, and they
Yeah.
make it look like a walk in the park. They have it down to a science, the way they cleared out that late game. It's beautiful to see. It is like listening or watching a well-tuned, orchestra.
Yeah.
Playing the most beautiful music. This is Game Lord. It's not like, wow, great game for Game Lord. Let's see if they could do it again. No, we've seen this from Game Lord time in, time out. It is very well established.
It is. Like, the simple things such as, I think phase 2, they were actually up on the northern side of the river. Believe it or not, phase 3 popped and it kind of committed towards Rozhok. And they reacted ridiculously quickly, but also not panicky, right? Because they knew that they were going to be going in towards kind of the center of the eastern side. There's most likely going to be a team there. I think they were aware Sash had spotted Eastern Stars already pushing into Rozhok, but the 100, they got into the storm of Game Lord. And it's all about that awareness, right? It's not like they like some teams will go for a rotation that technically makes sense, but they'll go in blind. Game Lord were fully aware based on the intelligence, based on the awareness, based on the proactivity, that there's most likely going to be a team there. And they were ready to take on that fight. They won it basically inside the blue and then went to Rozhok Hill. And from there, it was, like you said, that control, that methodicalness, that orchestra level of play. It's hard not just to have a smile on your face watching it, genuinely.
It's a beautiful 4-man symphony out of the Game Lord side, and they put
Symphony
on a show
of Destruction
once again for us. But of course, that does it for game number 1. We'll be back really quick with a short little break and some highlights for the match rankings, and we got 3 games left to go, so don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. We still got a lot of action to bring to you guys.
Welcome back to the final day of the PUBG Mobile Europe Community Tournament. It was a frantic game one that we've just witnessed. A Rozhok finish, quite unusual, but I do love Rozhok. It's personally kind of my favorite area of Erangel, at least to drop. And Zute, it was trolled pretty beautifully by Game Lord.
It was a frantic match. We saw a lot of fights happen throughout the early, mid, to the late game, but of course Game Lord didn't look frantic at all. They just did their thing, played it beautifully, and made it look like a walk in the park. Like I said, there might have been chaos all around them, but they saw a clear-cut path to that chicken dinner, and they just took it.
Yep.
I don't think they even lost. Yeah, they didn't lose a single player. And maybe one of their players maybe got knocked at one point here and there, but they were in firm control of everything.
Yeah, exactly. Let's have a look at the match rankings from the first game. Like 15 elimination points, 15 placement points, Game Lord 30. What more can you say? But you kind of take the light away from them for a second. Big. 14 elimination points. 4 placement points, 18 in total. Not gonna lie, even though we talk about their improvement on being stronger in the closing moments of a game, I also really enjoyed this kind of big performance. Just take a fight after fight after fight, and just racking up the elimination points here, there, and everywhere. It's a joy to see.
Yeah, I will say the circles did hard shift away from them each single time. So
True.
They did have to come in on the hard shift side towards the late game, which means there's more teams that they have to fight through. But still, I'm sure if they study back that game, VOD, with that hard shift, there's probably a better play execution that could have been had, and I'll just leave it at that. Taking a look at Rexpect and Bravis real quick out of both of these teams. Great performance by them, 18 plus 12. That puts them at the 30 point to match kind of Game Lord's game.
Yeah, for sure. It was really good to see the two Spanish teams in the top 3 of that game one. And I got to give props to Rexpect. They made some really solid decision making. I know that the circles were around where they land, but I also don't think they were super presumptuous with their decision making, and that push into Rozhok, it was not only good timing, which is not something you're always going to get right, but even just where they went to within Rozhok, it made sense based on the timing and the shifts that we saw. They were one of the last teams into Rozhok, and to me that's kind of a positive, so fair play to them. For Romania men and Eastern Stars, it wasn't a bad result for both of the teams. However, 12 and 10, that's only 22 points. That's 8 22. Less points than Game Lord alone. Never mind Chazmak picking up 8 points in total. So it is still, unfortunately, a negative result for Romania in the final day of the PMECT. It's tough to say that, but that's a reality.
Overall, though, they actually tied with Germany in terms of points. So Germany's like 3rd place. The Romanian side is in 2nd. So Germany got 18 points from Big. We saw those eliminations. Yeah. And then there's 4 points from Fear the Flame, previously known as LMB. That does add up to 22. And Eastern Stars and for Romanian men with 12 and 10, that's also 22. So at least they're not losing their point lead to the 3rd place team. And they're sticking neck and neck just with them. But of course, that 1st place position falling more and more out of reach for them.
As we get into game 2, we didn't really talk too much about the second half of the overall standings coming into this final day. And it is very close. It is genuinely very close, and I think we should be paying a little bit more attention because of how close it is. Greece coming into today, 453 points. Spain, 473. UK, 491. Czech Republic, 499. That's 56 points between 4 spots. That's really close. So with Spain getting 30 in that first game alone, that's probably jumped them ahead of Czech Republic in the 6th. But can they continue it?
Yeah, we will definitely monitor the lower half of the overall rankings, as there's going to be a lot of shuffling there. Of course, we want to keep an eye out on the upper half, but it looks like the upper half is pretty much secured by the way of France.
Exactly.
So we can start already shifting that focus to the lower half. But I mean, if Game Lord pops off again, like, we gotta shine and give our nods for Game Lord for putting on a beautiful show. Speaking about a beautiful show, that is a beautiful playing path for the start of this Miramar match, as we do have a diagonal crossing. It could be skewed a little bit more harder down towards the southern side, but this is pretty much a very good playing path for all the teams, and there shouldn't be too many issues for any of these guys to get to where they want to go to.
Let's see where the phase one, should I say, pops up. I hope it's a juicy one. We did, of course, yesterday see even if it was for a small period of time, a threat of the Eastern Islands, but not this time around. It complements the playing path. And it seems like we're probably going to have a little bit of a passive start in Miramar because of how well located this phase one is.
Yeah, this phase one might not see too much movement. Teams should just position themselves in a spot that they're able to rotate out of, and that's pretty much it. I'm surprised we haven't seen a Northwestern circle all tournament long. It happens, I don't want to say often, but it happens like from time to time.
It does.
Good amount.
It does.
But not today, not this tournament. We did see, some Los Leones circles. We saw some hard Southwestern circles, which were, pretty interesting to watch. But no real circles in the Northwest or Northeast. And this one could still make for a really fun game. Just depends on how the subsequent circles shift around the map.
Respect. Salazar on his own with an Uzi and an SKS. It's a good combo. Clean SKS shots, but unfortunately only 10 bullets in a clip means that you really have to be accurate with those shots. You're going to connect all of them. Does push the two members of Glore away, and it's not much, but it does mean that he has just a little bit more freedom around him, especially as he's on his own. So that's really not a bad thing for Salazar.
Did you notice how when he fired the Uzi, one of the bullets connected and it did 7 damage?
Oh, I didn't notice that, actually.
Yeah, it was 7 damage. That means he would have had to hit, let's see, math is hard right now, 14? Not even 14 shots. 14 shots would have done 98 damage. So if he hit 14 bullets at that distance, it would have done 98 damage, and that player still would have got off. I just found it funny. He knew he didn't have time to reload the SKS, so may as well bring out the Uzi, give them a little bit of a love tap. And it's like, ow, this guy's gonna make me use an energy drink? Really? So annoying, man. But
that's why I said it was pretty good by Salazar, because it just suppresses. He doesn't. Well, okay, I'd like to think he knows, but he doesn't factually know that it's Glore. So that technically could have been any team, right? So if it was within reason, a more aggressive team or a stronger team, no disrespect to Glore, those shots, again, suppressing a team, it's simple stuff, and when it works, it allows you to play a little bit of a cleaner early game. It allows you to have a little bit more space in front of you, and again, leading into hopefully a domino effect of a better mid game.
I'm happy to see Lemniscate is no longer taking a fight with Glore.
I know, right?
They went somewhere else. Like, usually we're all for hot drop fights, but let's be honest, it's not a fight between Lemniscate and Glore. It's I stare at you, you stare at me.
It's like
you stare at me. Okay,
it's like the fight in school that you have with when you're young, and you're like, okay, let's fight, and all you're really doing is kind of pushing each other around and kind of like scraping. That's what it was like between those two teams.
Oh my gosh, that's a very good comparison right there. Yeah, one of those high school fights where everybody gets hyped up and nothing happens.
Oh
yeah. So hopefully they can loot to their heart's content now and bring some more action into the mid and late game, right? Usually when we see
I hope
teams not
so.
being able to loot up because they're stuck, quote unquote, fighting each other, they also are forced to play much more slow and passive the rest of the game because they don't have the loot, they don't have the rotation priority that they're comfortable with. So this time around, maybe both teams will add a little bit more spice to our Miramar matches as we're doing a little quick tour around Miramar, taking a look at what all these teams are doing, where they're looting. And I like this little tour we're having because it kind of puts into perspective just how big this map is on a freaking mobile device. Like, you could drive around this map for quite literal hours and you won't be able to, see everything. But D100 does see something. They see the team of Uncanny trying to do their rotation. This is a rotational trap. They know Uncanny's on that northern side. The circle's a bit more south. They're going to come down this road to rotate, and D100 are leaving away from the center of circle to post up on these hills to get some quick early eliminations.
And this is one thing that I have genuinely been impressed with the 100 in Miramar is I've been very happy with how they've disengaged away from El-Azhar and used those hills around them to not only grab eliminations, but to just have a stronger control, stronger awareness. We've seen in previous games, they've gone up against 7-Up, for example, and they've been able to catch him out more than once. And we're seeing it once again where, yeah, okay, they're going a little bit deeper because I think this is a genuinely targeted suppression onto Uncanny. But it could more often than not, teams that land in El-Azhar rotate a little bit too late. That's some lovely sprays by both Daddy and Icy together.
Yeah, that was a combined effort right there. Uncanny, that player felt a little bit too uncomfortable and tried to make a quick dodge and run for it. That actually gives the 100 the opening. Now, the question is, how fast can the 100 break down this situation and continue this aggression? All right, they took up the initial positioning to find the initial knock, but they need to follow it up. It's a game of chess. Move your pieces around. You got one opening, you got one position more deeper in. Keep it going. Don't slow it down. Perfect. There we go. A push made by one player with two supporting sight lines. Perfectly. Well done. Now it's a 4v2. I wonder if they could catch these players down, though, as they will be making a very quick disengagement. The Uncanny wanting to have nothing to do with E100 right now.
Even though that looked like it was a solo push by Daddy, it was actually far less of a solo push than it looked, because you highlighted of two players supporting him. Reznov was kind of close enough that I would argue it wasn't really a support, and it was more of a double push coming out from Daddy and Reznov together. So really well done by the 100.
And that's a pre-planned, attack onto the Uncanny. Uncanny's away from the center of the circle. The 100 could have rotated in more center, but it's the very first circle, so why not? Catch a team off guard, pick up some eliminations, and they did it in very good timing too. So it's not like they even missed out on any rotational, time on their own.
Yeah, that's one thing that I was thinking while you were talking. I was like, the timing of that was pretty spot on. Like, if that was a cake, it would be perfectly baked from the 100.
We see Real Tiger 9 here with 2 eliminations already. Love this team. They have played. They have done like a 180 in terms of their play style and their confidence. And they're actually about to maybe pick up a few more, taking down 2 members of La Familia. They're fighting 2 different teams at the same time here.
Yeah, because Golden Esports are, I think, looking for a cheeky third party from a distance. So it's really less taking 2 fights at once and more just having to be a little bit more aware of how they're positioned on this initial engagement with La Familia. You talk about Real Tiger 9 having a 180-degree turnaround on how they're playing. I would say it's the same for La Familia, only fortunately in the opposite direction. There's something fundamentally wrong with how La Familia are currently playing, because it's been so consistent where they're rotating slow. They're afraid to take fights. They're just in the wrong positions to the point where it's not coincidence. It is genuine mistakes. Whether it's IGL, whether it's just lack of communication, I don't know what it is. But what I do know is Eastern Stars, they've gone out early.
Took a fight with Big, even taking fights with the top teams in the lobby usually come out. They inch out barely ahead. Notice how that fight ended with just one big player up. He's gonna get the revives, but that was a very close fight between those two teams. You see YMCA rotating in from the south side here, and that circle did shift up to the northwest. So we will see some more teams rotating on up north to get to the next position. Real Tiger 9 still fighting with La Familia. Evil Boy knocked. Evil Boy was the player of La Familia on top of that high ground angle. So him getting taken down is pretty much curtains for the La Familia team. Uncanny down to 2. We saw them earlier get targeted out by Real Tiger 9. They do put a foothold into a nice little compound area as a 2-man where they can survive for quite a little bit. They picked up a kill also onto the Fear the Flame team.
And I don't necessarily hold this against Fear the Flame because that's very much a domino effect, right? When the 100 engage onto Uncanny, that kind of push Uncanny towards Fear the Flame. And of course, you add into the fact that Lemniscate also dropped around this area into Armada. It's quite tricky for Fear the Flame. Again, I don't hold it against it, but it's just a product of that domino effect.
Definitely is. Big on that southern side. Looks like they got a reset onto 3 of their players. YMCA rotating really close on that south side. But we have like a 3-way fight here on that northeast, right? Uncanny, Lemniscate, and Fear the Flame. The 100 kind of close by too. Maybe just close enough to monitor the situation to see if there's an opportunity to do anything. And okay, we saw the initial very first circle, and we're like, okay, this circle, could get interesting. Who knows? Depends on where it goes. Well, we actually are shifting really hard towards the northwest. I think we've gotten 3 consecutive shifts towards the north. And now we might have a chance to see some creative field action with Chasmok Gaming holding down a nice high ground split there.
Chasmok is a tricky part to hold down in Miramar. So I'm curious to see how they position themselves up. Uncanny. Unfortunately, one of the 2 remaining players, is found by the side of the wall, and this is going to be the breach for Fear the Flame. The remaining 3 players to add another elimination point, and I suppose make things a little bit more comfortable for their entry into the Phase 3 circle. They don't exactly know where Aspira is. Goldie is biding his time. And Aspira pull out a bit of a clutch. Goldie's going to go closer to the side of the building. Is he going to push it on his own on the inside? No, not going to be the case. Perks is going to support him. Japan in the backline in the hill above. Lovely nade being chucked up. Or probably could have been Perks and Aspire thrown one together on either window. That probably would have been a confirmation. But while one is thrown a nade and the other one pushes upstairs, that's overall good duo team play.
Yo, check this out up here in Real Tiger 9. 6 eliminations already.
Let's go.
Yeah, looking like a completely different team. Now, when Big was doing this, I was criticizing them, right? Because Big is so good at this, and you need to work on their late game. But as far as Real Tiger 9 goes, they used to be a very passive team with no real identity, and they didn't really know how to take the fights together as a team. So seeing this out of Real Tiger 9, I'm very happy to see. And well, we were just talking about Big. Looks like Big is still continuing on their onslaught. Beast bleeding on out, very low HP. I think he's getting revived right now. So actually, Big keeps all 4 players up. They had a fight with Eastern Stars, which they took out, but we saw many of them knocked. So they got a full reset off of that fight. So that is great. They're breaking in onto that southern side of the circle. Now this push right here is definitely more of a difficult one. I don't know if they picked the right side of the circle to entry in on. There's a lot easier fights to take if they just wrapped around. So I think Big getting a little bit punished now here for this one.
There also is that third party by 4 Romanian men on the edge of the circle that's massively hurting Big. Looks like some revenge onto Big by 4 Romanian men. It's like, you take out our teammates, Eastern Stars. How dare you? How dare you? No, not quite the case. You just find the body, you spot a body, you look to take shots on that body. Next circle pops up and it's unfortunately gone away from Crater Fields, and this makes it very difficult because you have the road in the middle, the hillside either way. Very difficult to control, and Mazzara going to be pushing in, takes a bit of damage, has to turn back time. Time's just going to get knocked. He can't really get the heal off, and Golden come out on top.
Yeah, so I think Big just needs to work on which side of the circle and how they rotate in from to fight. Like, they're good at fighting. They just need to pick the right areas, and that's pretty much it. Like, you stick them into an easier fight where there's not 2 teams gatekeeping them, they'll probably come out on top. So that's the only adjustment they need to make, and that blue zone previous doesn't do that much damage. They can afford time to cook in the blue a little bit to find a better position. So that's similar to what they did last game. They took a lot of fights and they rotated in from a position that's rather difficult to fight in from. So they're kind of making the same mistake almost. D100 reaching out onto the Game Lord. We saw the Game Lord on the minimap with a beautiful split, looking like they are able to control and dominate the entire southeastern circle. But that one entry point in, that one knock, will change Game Lord's defensive strategy drastically. Going from 4 players down to 3 on Miramar is like night and day difference.
Real Tiger 9 edging into the eastern side of the circle. They have the 100 right in front of them. The 2 UK representatives battling up. Good awareness by Septas with the TPP perspective. Reznov, unfortunately, not in the right place to support Daddy, who is on his own. At the end of the day, though, Real Tiger 9 don't really have as much of a stranglehold inside the circle compared to the 100. Plus, with Game Lord looming away and another team looking to join in on the other side, Septas doesn't quite get the run over. Get the knock on to Icy, and now he has to go back around. He's down to about 30 health. Like I say, it's Bravis. That's another 4th party team possibly going to get involved. Real Tiger 9, what do they do? Where and how do they focus?
I mean, they just need to isolate one side. Take care of the close range player. I know there's 2 supporting players, easier said than done, but it just looks like they don't know a decisive decision to make. In the heat of the moment, it is very hard to do. They need that voice to call out the targets, but it looks like they did get a knock onto the 100 as the blue zone slowly closing in right now. The 100 down to 2 players, and I think that through the chaos, through that panic, Icy Boss might have slipped up just a little bit and allowed the Real Tiger 9 team to continuously push on in. Chasmot Gaming on the west side of things, having a dominant control, just chilling on these mountaintops. They've managed to pick up 2 eliminations from long range distance, which is not that bad considering how far they're having to shoot right now to get their elims.
And plus, considering how tricky the side of the hill is to play, they are better off being where they are right now. But the next circle shifts over to the west. These are some pretty disgusting hardships, I do have to say. Luckily for Real Tiger, the 100 and Game Lord, they're much closer to the edge of the circle, and things are very much going to heat up for both of the UK representatives.
The 100 still trying to mount this defense. One of them almost gets knocked by that grenade. I don't believe that player has medkits either, because Reznov has been at low red HP for quite a while now. He hasn't stopped to heal. Real Tiger 9 continuously using more YouTube to try and break on in, but they're getting third party now with that shift. They're taking a little bit too long to close out the fight, and now Game Lord is back with the vengeance, and they sweep right around the backside of that high ground, and Real Tiger 9 go out. So Real Tiger 9, I like, they get it. They know how to fight their way in. It's just a little bit slow and a little bit unsure of how they're going to go about it. Take a look at Game Lord. When Game Lord has to fight their way in, pish posh, done. Just like that. Snap your fingers, and the fight's over. They didn't just take out Real Tiger 9, by the way. They took out Real Tiger 9 and the 100, just like that. The
other French side, Chazmac going to be pushing in from the west, so The two French representatives have either side of this current circle for the most part covered. Lemniscate, one knocked. Possibly a second. There is Fear the Flame down below. Like I said, playing on the side of this hill is incredibly difficult. You have very little hard cover, and there's so many areas in the next circle that can expose you. But Chazmak, they're playing it extremely well.
Utilizing that high ground. Shadowin with an M24 knock right there. That's going to be that push. I mean, they were looking to do that either way. And Game Lord pushing their side as well. The French community, Imperium, is just putting on a clinic right now. From the east to the west. Just pure position and teamwork.
East or west, France are best, right? You know, I don't think I could have summed it up better myself. Chazmak grabbed their 7th elimination. 6 teams left. Respect right in between the two French sides. 4 Romanian men still alive. Somewhat trying to fly the flag for Romania in these dying moments. As a grip, the strangled hold that France has over this leaderboard becomes tighter and tighter. Azer seals a blow onto one of the 4 Romanian men players. Going to continue to put the pressure on the Romanian side.
4 Romanian men definitely caught in a really difficult position right now. But they are blessed with some reprieve as the circle does shift down to them on the south side. So they get this nice little hill to work with now. Now they're probably in a dominant position. Chazmak Gaming looking to pressure in on their side. As Game Lord, they have to take care of one team before they can even touch this side of the hill. They got another team of Respect, I believe, hold up in the compound right across the road. But look at Chazmak Gaming. They have the zone, but they're not putting up. They're not letting up any pressure. Trazen moves up close and throws some grenades over. And wow, that's a lot of boxes right there. Maybe pick up some more grenades as they need to keep fighting their way in onto the 4 Romanian men's side.
I really love the fact that 4 Romanian men has a player on the very southern edge of the circle just to stop, let's say, a deep rotation from either Chazmak or even Game Lord, right? So they can't wrap around behind 4 Romanian men. The 3 players are in front on the edge of the hill. So good decision, intelligent play for 4 Romanian men as they set up to try and claim the chicken dinner in Miramar. Chazmak overlook Respect's compound. In comes the push as the phase 6 blue zone is starting to make its way in. Both Game Lord and Respect gonna look for a spot in the northern edge of this circle. But Chazmak, they have Respect's number. Focus reacting so well. Formerly a player for a Spanish side. Now back in his home ground on the team of Chazmak.
Great control by both Chazmak, Game Lord, and 4 Romanian men. You can see Respect, they kind of kept their heads down at that compound where you're safe, but you don't have as much territory control around you. So you see how they're the ones getting gate kept in now on that shift where it goes away from them. But that's the price they pay for taking a position that's rather safer and less of a proactive position. We see Chazmak Gaming looking to gatekeep Rex. Same with Game Lord. Both of these teams just picking on easy prey right now. And Respect get absolutely melted. Game Lords with 11 eliminations. And oh, on the other side of things, how did 4 Romanian men get 2-player knocked? It must be the grenades and Chazmak Gaming. This is an opportunity for them. Not one that they have to take because they're going to push down from the high ground. But they smell weakness. They smell blood. They're going to go for this push. Trazen turns his back on. Oh, at the last second. That is not when you want to do that. And now 4 Romanian men get to stabilize back down to 3. 1 player goes down.
Oh, beautiful by Redox. Spot gets a knock on the Pocus, but he's on a limited amount of health. Dexter is towards the side. In comes the squad wipe. Chazmak are taken down and we're left with 2. 4 Romanian men have 2 players up. A first aid pulled out by Redox Spot just to re-energize himself. However, going up against a 3-person team of Game Lord. Technically, the body advantage for Game Lord the circle advantage for 4 Romanian men. I love this from Robs. Ankling around. He wants to get the side trap onto 4 Romanian men. It's going to be the same for Akashi. Leaves Spicy in front as the distraction point. Time's ticking. We'll use the vehicles. 4 Romanian men are aware of it. And they goes out in towards the direction of both Robs and Akashi. That's why it's a good job sending 2 players on that side angle if you're Game Lord. Not too far apart. Knock comes through. Dexter on the left-hand side gets an angle onto Spicy. Switches over to the right-hand side. A more advantageous angle and comes in. That's going to be the squad wipe. That's going to be the chicken dinner for 4 Romanian men.
I loved how the Game Lord side tried to use that buggy play, right? Cause a little bit of distraction. But you saw that 4 Romanian men player at the rock. He saw that buggy whiz by. He maybe turned his character model just this much on screen, and then he refocused. He was like, I got a support line on my right side. He'll take care of that player. I trust him. I got my own focus to do. I am not going to get distracted. And just as that buggy zoomed by, that refocus onto the player in front got him the opening with the UMP. And then, of course, his teammate took care of the buggy player, trying to cause that distraction. And that was a clean 2v3 by the 4 Romanian men. Very good job by them. Of course, they did have the side of the circle working towards them, but that was very good focus out of the 4 Romanian men's side.
Yeah, it was. I do think that Game Lord were a little bit floppy at that end. Like, and I'm not even trying to say this because it didn't work. I don't like that he got in the buggy and tried to go for that distraction play. To me, it wasn't the right moment because of the lip of the hill, having no real guarantee where the 4 Romanian men players were. I get the risk being on foot. They've done such a good job initially of sending one player, Rob's, angling to the side, followed by the second in Akashi. All they had to do, in my opinion, was coordinate the engagement with Spicy being in front, and that would have been enough, in my opinion. Getting in the buggy, too much of a risk.
I wouldn't mind if he got in the buggy and just crashed the rock, right? Kind of like a compound breach. Two lines of support from different sides, the left and the right. Crash the rock. Of course, him crashing the rock, there might have been a mid-angle from the 4 Romanian men's side, the supporting player, that could shoot him in the side. You never know in situations like that. But
I know.
It was, they had a play in mind. They utilized the buggy. They utilized what tools they had at their disposal. And they saw the buggy. A buggy distraction with 2 players pressuring in. I mean, that's a standard set play. It just didn't work out. And I think they'll clean it up a little bit more in the future. And that really more comes down to, in that specific area of the map, in that specific situation, what's the best way to go about it. And I think for very high-level teams, like, you know, like the teams that we just saw fighting, that's where their real practice comes in from. In very specific game in circles, they get a better, finer-tuned detail of just the exact angles and how to go about it. So I think that's a good learning point for them to have.
True. I suppose in that moment, and I think sometimes maybe teams in general can maybe take a step back and remember this. It doesn't have to be overly complicated. 3 players for Game Lord, 2 players for 4 Romanian men. You trade, right? That's the way I kind of look at it. You trade. That's where I saw the initial 2-man push on the side. That's a simple trade play. That's a simple, okay, we know we have the body advantage. We can afford to suffer the first knock. We'll follow it up with a knock of our own. That means it's 2v1. We get the last kill, we get the win. That's, you know, so like maybe, you know, that's where I kind of just looking in terms of don't overcomplicate it. Sometimes just use the body advantage in the simplest, cleanest way. But I love our different perspectives, and that's what I love about commentating with you, because you do bring that different angle of play, of course. But don't go away. We're going to go for a bit of a highlight, a bit of a break. We'll be back with game 2 results, should I say, followed by game 3 in Sanhok. kind The final day of the PUBG Mobile Europe Community Tournament continues. Game 2 is finished, and it was the Romanian team that came out on top. But as always, like all kind of good things and bad things, the French community just won't go away. Like a bad rash, they just won't go away.
The French community, they got more points in the first game, obviously, with Game Lord, securing that nice chicken dinner. And this time around, for Romanian men, the Romanian side, right, the second place community answered back with a chicken of their own. But once you take a look at the match results that will come up on your screen in a little bit, you'll see something that where the French side, they are not giving it up. They are not letting any of their leads slip. And if anything, they're actually getting more points than the Romanian side, even though they just won.
They are. Looking at the match rankings, like I said, they're for Romanian men, 25. Really good chicken dinner, by the way, fully deserved. But Game Lord and Chazmak had the West, Game Lord had the East. 11 eliminations for Game Lord, 10 for Chazmak, 43 in total. It's just doing what they do, and again, to see both teams up there, it just continues to echo the domination that has been for the whole of the French community throughout this community tournament.
Very good game for the French side. Eastern Stars, not doing too hot. We saw them go out very early to the side of Big. Big, still a team that you don't want to take a fight with, no matter how strong you are as a fighting team. And we talked about this a little bit in the very beginning, where I mentioned between 4 Romanian men and Eastern Stars, which team would you want to see target a French team early on? I said 4 Romanian men. I said the Eastern Stars are not really a fighting team, and you can see it here. They took a fight with Big, an isolated 4v4. They lost it. It was a close fight, though. They did almost take out Big. It came down to the last player, like a 1v1 situation. But obviously, Eastern Stars, that is not where they shine through, the 4v4s. And unfortunately, they ran into Big, and they went out extremely early, securing 0 points for the Romanian side.
Once again, to kind of, highlight the bottom half of the overall standings and the teams that are possibly stepping up with that for their communities. And Spain, Rexpect and Bravas, 15 points in the second game together. They had 30 points in the first game, 45 in 2 games for the two teams. That's 150%, put them easily ahead of Czech Republic. UK did have a decent return to form. We can confidently say we're continuing to be relatively, I don't know if impressed is the right word, but satisfied with the evolution Real Tiger 9 are showing in game, and they picked up 7 points, followed by 5 from the 100. So it's not the most amazing, but 12 in total. It means it's 17 across the 2 games so far. It does help negate the push that Spain have had in the first 2 games.
I do think right now there's a fight for 6th place now, right? Between the UK and Spain. Czech Republic was 6th place coming into today at 499. But the Glor team has not had much success after the first 2 games. And they will be dropping down to around the 8th place mark, I think. And so a fight for 6th place. As for the top half of the leaderboard, well, we've seen what Game Lord and Chasmok are doing. We've seen what, the side of 4 Romanian men are doing. They're still keeping the lead on to 3rd place. So Germany trying to do their best to catch up. But it looks like Romania's probably staying in 2nd around right now. Germany's staying in 3rd right about now. And France, they're just widening the gap just because they can.
I have stats on that if you want. I have some numbers for you.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead. Shoot it over.
In the first 2 games, Germany, 30 points. And you know what? I'm going to give them a bit of a pass, especially based on on Big's first game and how much to get circle hard shifted. Romania, 47 points in the first 2 games. But France, in the first 2 games, 81 points.
Oh, Jesus. 81 in 2 games.
Yeah, I know. I'm just like, Jesus Christ.
It makes sense. It makes sense why they're first, second, and third, respectively, right? That's just kind of on average how they've been doing every single day of this tournament.
Yeah.
And that's why there's that point gap. So, I mean, it's, yeah, PUBG is a game of a lot of RNG involved. But you can see when we play this many days, this many matches, some good days, some bad days, but overall, it will balance out to how strong a team is and how good they are at this game.
Okay, Eastern Stars. It could be too little too late, but we're seeing a potential hot drop. Game Lord Akashi is able to pick up a knock on top Octavian. I'm sorry, but I don't really care about 4 Romanian men. I need to see this hot drop come through, and I believe it's gone horribly wrong against Eastern Stars. They only sent 2 players into the upper coastline compound. But Game Lord, they sent 3, and I gotta wonder, Zuten, I'm curious on your opinion on that. No, not in terms of a target, but we know it was a target by Eastern Stars. Do you think that was an adjustment by Game Lord based on seeing the parachutes push into the same building as them? Because they normally don't send 3 up those buildings.
Yeah, that's definitely an adjustment.
Oh, wait! I'm sorry to cut you off, but actually I do care about the 4 Romanian thing, because they've dropped on Chazmak.
Yeah, it is hot drops all around with targeting, pretty much. Not just any regular hot drops. Big dropping in boot camp to take a fight with 2 other teams, like 3 teams dropping a boot camp today. Last match of the day. You know, teams want to give us the good old Sanhok action. Times the last player up for the big side. Definitely not doing too well, but I think they kind of dropped in the middle of YMCA and La Familia, so they took the brunt of the force. Doing a decent job there. Final stand gets that knock, but will get traded out. And Chasmok Gaming versus 4 Romanian men. I was saying 4 Romanian men is the stronger of the 2 between 4 Romanian men and the Eastern Stars, and it looks like it's proving to be true. It looks like they are taking control of this situation. Oh, never mind. I think Chasma Gaming has the advantage now in the 2v1 against the 4 Romanian men. Sarah, the last one up.
Gonna at least be able to get a first aid off using the TPP. A couple of shots have tickled onto him, so Trazen has a health advantage. All Trazen has to do is wait and walk into the bullets. That's going to be a squad wipe. That's going to be 4 Romanian men taken down. This is pretty wild. We're down to 13 teams, 44 players. This is last day madness right in front of our eyes.
I think it also kind of goes to show just, you know, the fact that it's Sanhok and these teams are like, all right, is there really any strategy for us to practice on Sanhok? No, we're just going to end up being at the whim of the circle and knowing how to, you know, like, there is strategy, don't get me wrong, but the strategy is very linear. It's like, okay, if the circle goes this way, we'll go here. If the circle goes that way, we'll go there. And then if the circle goes here, at this point in the game, we'll have to take a fight with this team. Like, it's very linear in that sense. So these teams here just kind of was like, you know what, we don't want to go through all of that right now. Let's just have some fun. Drop hot in this first match or third match of the day, it being Sanhok, and just have some fun with it, right? D100, ooh, that is some nice shots from Icy Boss. I think that was like a double tap headshot single fire. Really nicely done by V100.
And YMCA being put down to just 1 player. They were, to be fair, taking 2 fights at once between Big and La Familia. They got rid of Big. Now it's just La Familia that are left. Looking in the feed, we also see the 100 engaging onto Uncanny. Bravis could, on top of Bootcamp Hill, a little bit third party between La Familia and YMCA. It's going to be tough, but the possible opportunity is there.
Uncanny. Down to 1 now. D100 knows exactly where he is. We see one player peppering his tree right there. Hidekori knows he needs to make a move now, trying to escape his eventual fate. But Icy Boss catches him on that cross. We're down to 12 teams, 38 alive in the first 5 minutes of Sanhok. I just hope the mid to late game is not going to be extremely slow and boring, seeing as how we've lost so many teams, so many players already.
Like, even Golden Esports are pushing on the other side out of Paradise Resort towards North Bootcamp Hill, and if anything, they're going kind of right into Bootcamp. It looks like a Fear the Flame. They're pushing in. Real Tiger 9, they're still on the coastal line. Eastern Stars, the 2 remaining players, they were able to get away from Game Lord or on that Northwest Island.
Golden wanting to get a piece of the action. They take out Ket2. That's another elimination for them. And they realize following the kill feed that all the teams left in Bootcamp are extremely hurt and damaged. So they're not worried about running into a 4-man team mounting a defense with different sightlines in Bootcamp. They know it's 2 different teams that are battered and bruised. So they're going to take advantage of that. They're going to get in on the action. They're not too worried at all, but they're still pushing in together as a team. You can see right there, the side of Golden, they're clearing out building by building, sticking closer together, not needing to take multiple angles because it's not a 4v4 fight. If it was a 4v4, you want to have multiple angles to see if you could get the opening, the trade, and then also reset if you lose out on that trade when you have multiple sightlines set up. But this is a clear, direct push, sticking together, 4v2, don't want to risk anything here.
Golden Esports pushing in. I like how aggressive they're being. Next circle pops up. Going into the Gooder Bootcamp. I don't really like it by Evil Boy because I really feel like that's just a graveyard inside there, because this moving out of that lower part of Bootcamp is so challenging.
And Northwestern circle shift.
Second day in a row.
I'll be damned if it goes up to the Northwest. That's what I would want, but with so little teams left playing, it's not the same if it ends up on that Northwest. Ideally, at this point, I want it to end in boot camp. That would be fun.
Right?
That would still be fun with this many teams left playing.
Right now, the teams are playing as if it's going to be a boot camp finish, considering the amount of teams that are hovering around / inside the city. And I said Bravos could technically third party. It is what they're doing with the knock on the Packing 98.
Bravos getting a nice little third party action in right there from long range. And if anything, I feel like all the teams should just migrate to boot camp. They should know there's a lot of action here in boot camp. Just join the party, you know. It's the last day. Everyone should have a little bit of a celebration, at least on the map of Sanhok, you know. The map that gives so many teams headaches, experienced and inexperienced teams, all having, you know, a little bit of success on here, mainly due to just the way the circle shifts around, and it's the players are mostly at the whim of the circle. As the Evil Boy gets one there, but that controlled push, sticking closer together. They know it's not a 4v4 situation where they don't have to worry about funneling into one area and then getting cut down. They'll just isolate players one by one. And Glor getting in on the action themselves, taking a nice little push onto the Bravos team. This grenade, though, Glor's a little bit grouped up together. That one could be huge. It falls too short. Imperium.
A little bit overcooked as well. But I do appreciate what he was trying to pull off. He knew he had to pull away from the sniper tower because he saw the molly being flying up. He goes back up to the sniper tower. It's a good position to be in. But if you look at it right now, Zute, Bravos only have 3 players up at the top of the hill. One is much lower down. They need to get back up as a full squad. They're allowing Glor to engage and get closer to the top of the mountain. At the end of the day, as of right now, we're only halfway there. Great play. Icy from a distance, a third party with the help of Golden Esports. It's all going horribly wrong for Glor. 3 of their players are knocked down. They're going to get eliminated. 1 is left standing.
That's when you take a fight for too long. That's exactly what happens. I like the momentum initially. Glory even pushed a player out of the tower. And then we got one player closer, but it slowed down just a little bit too much. And of course, the 100 will be the Grim Reapers between these two teams, as they have a nice timing here to take down not just Glor, but also Bravis. And they're coming in quick with the speed and momentum.
Are they also bringing violence as well?
I'm glad you caught that reference right there.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
they're bringing it. They're bringing in all three.
God damn it, man! We're just so goddamn beautiful together. The 100 also looking to be beautiful together on their execution in this fight, but Golden Esports just being that little bit of a poke here, poke there, pokey everywhere, while standing back a little bit towards the side of this hill. Bravis staying alive. Engagement comes through. Icy quick to react, but he has to be very careful. On towards the left, gets it. Second, switches over, good. Nearly finds a third. Sliver of health comes on through. He's going to try and hold on, and with the help of his team, Icy conquers, and the 100 finish them off. But it's not over yet. They do have to contend with Golden Esports.
Golden Esports getting into the mix now. We saw what the 100 could just do, but that was Icy Boss. Can the rest of the 100 mimic a similar performance from Icy Boss's dance moves? Left and right, the peaks, the gun switch. Reznov's up next to bat. Looks like he's falling back a little bit further down. Icy Boss actually gets reset, so very good slow disengagement while putting up the pressure. And that actually pushes Golden a little bit too far downhill and potentially crossing into crossfire angle. Here's that crossfire angle I'm talking about.
Yes.
Coming out of the 100, Daddy IGL. I love Daddy IGL's position. He's telling his team, you can move back down. You can move back down. I got the cross angle, and Reznov answers back with a grenade. Here comes the counter push. By the way, there is still a Glor member left in play, and Daddy IGL actually coming from the flank takes out that player. And now Golden sandwich between everyone, as there's more carnage happening on the rest of the map.
Oh my god! It's a lesson on how to engage, how to control, how to push, and how to hold the side angles. Faria rocks around the up and down area of this rock and is able to find Daddy. But he's the last player standing. It's 1v3. In comes Icy, swinging through the fences. He's going to push Faria back. Needs to try and switch and reload. But now he's just left with the tiny tippity tap of health, and that's Reznov finishing the job. I know the 100 lost a player, but I still regard that as a very successful engagement.
I think they took down 3 teams. Glor,
yeah, pretty much 2.5 per se.
Gore, Golden. Who else was on that boot camp hill? It was
Bravis.
Yeah, okay. So definitely worth it there. And you saw 100 Daddy IGL. He could have maybe survived there, but in the thick of the fight, it's fine to lose a player like that in the heat of the moment. That just comes down to, yeah.
Is that an example of what you were talking about a little bit with it being okay to lose a player?
Oh no, so anytime I ever mention it's okay to lose a player, and during holding split defenses, right? Because I bring that up mainly because I hear casters and viewers all the time, like, why are they split up? It's late game. They should stay closer together. And that's what triggers me, because at the high level, some people just don't understand. You just need to lose a player potentially in the late game by holding split, because it creates more pressure out for the 3 that is alive to close out the game. Whereas you stick close together the whole time, you just get crushed in on the late game. But losing a player in skirmishes like that, you can't be like, oh, that's a mistake. Yeah, he knows he kind of messed up a little bit. But in the thick of things happen, even for very high-level players. Like, even out of the side of Novo, PMGC, you see them lose a player. Yeah. So it's like, you can't fault them for it. Yes, they know they could have done better, but it's not a thing you need to point out and, focus on it. It's the nature of the game. Fights happen. You lose fights sometimes.
Especially in Sanhok, right? And it's not like the 100 were slow in those engagements. They were probably as quick as they needed to be, because I think, especially to begin with kind of Bravis, and Galore, they knew they weren't the only team up there, so they really had to be calculated on how they pushed in. But anyway, we're kind of getting away from what's going on right now. The circle has shifted once again, and it's down towards the southwest island, just on the edge of the trifecta. It makes it very challenging for the 100.
The 100 with 13 eliminations already.
Wow. Jesus.
13. So 4, 8, 12. So somehow they've managed to take out 3 teams plus 1. Yeah, but we saw there at most 3 enemy teams on top of the hill. So I don't know. The math doesn't check out, but hey, they're in on the action and they're... Oh yeah, the 100 took out that one team in the south early on. There's so much fighting. I can't even remember, but Real Tiger 9, they've really stepped up their game, but when it comes to Sanhok, at least this time around, they're down to 1 player, 0 eliminations, and Mango's got a burning card driving his way in. I mean, make do with what you got, right? 13 alive, 15 minutes in. Game Lord from the north, having a nice control of that northern side. They did actually pick up one of the Eastern Stars a couple minutes ago. Eastern Stars down to 2 with 0 eliminations. Definitely not getting the Sanhok game that they want to be a part of.
Man, I'm really glad that kind of the mid part of the game, or I suppose the transition from the early to the mid part of the game after all the madness that we saw in the early game, hasn't been quiet. We've been pretty well action-packed. Now there's literally 13 players alive. 13 players alive.
Yep.
In phase 4. 16 and a half minutes left. We're kind of in for a very quiet late game, I think.
Yeah, it is going to be quiet. I just wonder if it's going to be super quiet where everyone snakes and snakes and snakes.
That's what I'm thinking.
And then they're forced to fight, or hopefully they're just like, you know what, screw it. We have 3 players up. We have a man advantage. Let's just run around the sides of the map and clear things out until we die. That could also be what happens. You know, we've seen games end before, like in circle 7 or 6. We've seen it happen before, but mainly when I watch the Chinese regions play. You know, the China region are very aggressive, and when they see an opportunity to close out a fight, they'll take it, regardless of if they have the zone or not. This time around, seeing as how aggressive these teams are playing and more how relaxed I would say on the Sanhok match, we might see something similar.
Could we see the shortest Sanhok game in the history of PUBG Mobile Esports? Possibly. I don't know. But it doesn't look like it's going to be the case because Rexpect has Big A with 15 first aids. Eastern Stars go down. Game Lord? Am I really surprised? Full squad, Sanhok, 7 eliminations. It's come on, guys. Come on.
It's Game Lord.
You know, someone think of the children right now. You know? Like, it's starting to nearly be disrespectful on how easy they're making it in these games.
Game Lord just doing Game Lord things, right?
Yeah.
They're the lords of the game. They're the lords of PUBG Mobile in this tournament. Well, Spicy does get knocked by Reznov. The 100. If anyone could take a fight to Game Lord right now,
let's
with the momentum that they got, it's the 100, and the 100 are feeling it. Reznov driving up onto his side cross angle with his vehicles, kind of getting a cross angle in onto Robs, making his position a little bit less effective. As you can see now, Robs can't really uncrouch from this position to take active shots. That forces him to hold this point down. Hopefully his teammates can get that revive. But you see right there, Reznov actually hitting a nice quick fadeaway shot right there, getting that player down to 38% health, and Shadowin from the flank side is taking down the Game Lord side. Game Lord holding a bit more they can actually grab onto, and they lose 1 player and 1 player knocked.
Rexpect could get involved in a disadvantageous way for the 100. Just something to think about, especially Reznov. Although Reznov does reposition because he realizes that not only with the circle shift, but the angle that he had and the purpose behind that angle, it's done. the repositioning, you know, I think that's something that is understated. Knowing when to be where you need to be and knowing when you need to leave where you are is so understated. Not a lot of players, I think, know that as effectively as they could. And sometimes we see players get caught up because of that. I know it's easier said than done, but it's still something I thought it's positive to point out because Reznov did such a good job of repositioning.
100% right there. Repositioning is very crucial. A lot of players get too comfortable in one spot and they'll just continue to sit there because they're safe and they feel like they're adding value. So they don't look to add more value to the team. Whereas it'd be repositioning. Yeah.
I love the fact that it's like you found such a better way of saying what I was trying to say. Thank you. That's exactly it.
I mean, hey, I plan on, coaching sometime soon, so I got to make my points short and strong and to the point for the players. But Rex, nice shots right there, actually getting the knock onto Reznov, but he does get taken down from across the ways. The 100 should be able to get that reset. You can see Icy Boss here, not even worried or concerned because he knows he's got his own job to do to make sure Game Lord doesn't want to try and press in at that opening. So next circle shifts out. We're going into Circle 7. I say this game can earn in Circle 7. It's looking like there's a good chance it might just end by Circle 7.
Also, low-key, Rune's finish. I would have loved to have seen this kind of finish with 15 to 20 players left. However, it is what it is. Icy gets knocked with a lovely nade by Game Lord. Good awareness. I don't know how much Icy exposed his position. I know that rock that he was on was very, very close to the blue zone. It looked like maybe he was repositioning or attempting to reposition. But either way, will the 100 be able to get to revive? Possibly. DK is healing in the blue for Rexpect on the side note. Smokes are coming out. I really appreciate the fact that Game Lord don't want to push this massively aggressively. Right? They're being very patient with this push. They're being respectful to the fact that it can go horribly wrong inside Ruins.
Rex actually deciding to med strat this one. I mean, get the points however you want them. They don't want to join in on the action as another player of V100 gets taken down. And, well, Game Lord, it looked like they might have been at the cusp of falling apart when they were sandwiched by V100 and Chasmok, but very good recovery skills by the Game Lord, recognizing which points of contention to keep the counter pressure on. Let's switch the camera. Shadowwind takes down 2, and V100 know this. It just happened in the kill feed. They have to take advantage of this right now.
They have to know this. Plus, the circle's gone away from the 100. So up the hill they go as a duo pushing in, but they have no idea exactly where Robs is. Molly goes out to try and reposition Robs and help suppress him. That's a good Molly that threw out in between the two rocks. Forces him to stay exactly where he is for the time being. Reznov a little bit further away. Will jumping up and down, bobbing his head. Weaving through and through as BK goes down in the end. So does Robs into the 100 chicken dinner.
V100. We were talking about Real Tiger 9 for the first 2 games. Giving them a little bit of credit. Getting more aggressive and into the action of things. But their British counterparts, the United Kingdom, V100, getting not just a chicken dinner on Sanhok, they got one with a lot of eliminations. We saw them take a team fight against 3 other teams on top of that hill. And let me highlight this real quick. They initiated the fight. One of them got knocked. And the other team coming out of boot camp, I believe it was Golden, getting very aggressive. And I think Golden played that well too. They pressed up really far into the 100. They did not give the 100 an easy reset, but the 100 just set up their positionings for that reset so well. They backed down enough, but they kept 100 Daddy IGL IGL on that off-angle cross, which just let out enough pressure to get the revive. And of course, that one grenade opening, the counter push. Beautifully done by both teams.
And I don't know if you noticed, but even in the very, very initial parts of that kind of 3-way fight, or actually, sorry, not the 3-way fight, but the fight between the 100 and Golden, Daddy, from that angle, got a kill onto one of the golden players. So it was even just a very initial part in which his position was super effective. It wasn't just in the tail end of the fight per se. So yeah, fantastic job done by the 100. I know this was a little bit of a weirder game because of the hot drops we saw, the amount of early game action, but I think we can genuinely say that the fight between Bravos, the 100, and Golden, as well as Glore, was a fight that could happen in any Sanhok game, right? With just how teams were positioned on that boot camp hill. So really, really deserved from the 100.
Definitely. Well, so that was Sanhok at its prime peak, with teams hot dropping and fighting every which way, boot camp everywhere, all across the map. And with so much fights to be had, I think it's better we just take a look at the highlights to give a little bit of a better recap, because it was just chaos all over the place. So we'll go for a quick break. Don't go anywhere as we get match results done for match number 3, and then we're off to the final game of the tournament, the final game of the day. We'll see you soon.
Final day of the PUBG Mobile Europe Community Tournament continues, and we've just finished our game 3 out of 4. And if you wanted a representation of what a final day can look like in a lot of tournaments, just use that previous game. It was a Hail Mary, shackles off, and just everybody let loose, because it was fight after fight after fight after fight.
It was Sanhok the way it's meant to be played, right? From a casting, entertainment side, of course, a lot of teams miss out on points just because they get into those fights and get third partied. Hot drops are RNG. So I know from a competitive standpoint, that's not how you want to do it.
Of course.
But entertainment-wise, it was great. I mean, that was fun.
Yeah, it's like we were fully esports entertained. But I think out of the craziness, I think we can both say, and we kind of alluded to it before the break, the 100 looked really impressive, and I would arguably say it was their most impressive performance in the PMECT so far.
I think as far as like points go, like how many points they got, for sure. Like take a look at the match rankings. The 100, right? 30 total points, 15 elims, 15 placement points. And you could argue, yeah, that game wasn't very typical. They can't do something like that in a real competitive match. But no, we did see very good skills being used out of the 100 as well. It's not
exactly. It's
not like teams are just randomly fighting and they just third-partied everything. They had some really good pushes, some really good timings, some really good formations in order to secure that chicken dinner. So they still got good practice in. But second and third place overall for this match ranking, Imperium, like, it's Viva la France.
Yeah, je ne sais quoi, whatever you want to say, omelette du fromage. Just, it's really like magnifique from Game Nordic consistency. 3 games played so far, they've been in top 3 of each, including the chicken dinner. Chazmac have been kind of very consistent as well in today's games. And again, I do have some numbers to talk about. However, Rexpect, once again, gotta give them props. Okay, only 2 eliminations, but still 12 points in total, and they have impressed me. I know I can be quite critical on Rexpect because I really do have a lot of appreciation for their organization. And I think in the second half of the tournament, or kind of week 2, they were really looking really bad. They were looking so bad. I would say kind of like bottom 3 performing teams consistently in terms of just doing nothing direction-wise. Today, it's been a very kind of direction-based day, and yeah, the points they've gathered has been deserved.
I also want to give credit to Rexpect in terms of just how serious they are playing the game. You can tell early on a lot of teams are fighting, just having fun. But Rexpect knowing, they have a lot to catch up on in terms of, overall team skill and everything.
True.
They don't just let the game become just a for-fun match for them.
For sure.
They're playing it very serious, still trying to optimize as much points as they can. So they went for a med strat. It's like, I really do respect that, because as a player myself, I've been in scrims where my team has been like, these scrims aren't serious, let's just have fun, it doesn't matter, let's just do whatever, right? And that mentality is really easy to latch on to when you practice day in, day out, every day. So for Rexpect to still keep their form, keep their seriousness in terms of, optimizing points, regardless of where they are in the overalls, I really like seeing that, and huge props to them for doing that.
Definitely. You mentioned the word scrims, and as you get into the playing paths of the final game of the PUBG Mobile Europe Community Tournament, I do want to talk a little bit about Mihi and Big as a whole, because Mihi sent me a really long message on Instagram to try and kind of clear up with regards to their game style at the moment. And I'm going to paraphrase a lot of this, but the point is, last year, they had a lot of kind of rounds, a lot of games where they were getting 0 to 5 points and relatively kind of dying early per se. and they felt that their communication and synergy weren't really up to being able to push and coordinate within those games back last year. So what they're using with the PMECT is the focus is to, and even the last 2 months as well, is to focus on fights and to get really good at fights and a routine around taking fights. So it means that automatically the communication is much more important. Automatically the communication is better. So therefore, that's what they've been training over the past 1 to 2 months. And that means that in those kind of games where they maybe get 0 to 5, either kind of placement points or technically like points in general, it's automatically going to be boosted by what could be an extra 4 to 8 elimination points. And you can see that. It makes sense. I kind of guessed that, but for it to be explained and focused on by Mihi, it just shows the professionalism the whole team has in how serious they're taking their game in PUBG Mobile.
Yeah, the 0 to 5 point per game type of score area, I'm very familiar with that. That's typically a type of game where you just kind of play your rotations. You don't try to take advantage of fights, really, just because, you know, the fights can always go wrong. And you get into, like, circle number 4 in an okay position. In circle 5, circle 6, you might lose a player here, try and get into circle 5. You might pick up 1 or 2 kills, try and get into circle 6. And then there's that next shift, and now you're down to 2 players. You get eliminated. You get 2 elim points, maybe 4 placement points, 6 points, right?
Yes.
Or maybe you get 3, something like that. That area, that range of the 5-point mark is probably one of the worst feelings to get. When it comes to, because you could so easily get stuck in that 5 point per game over and over and over, because it's just that play style is just literally, I don't even want to say you're just trying to survive. Like, you're still trying to fight your way in, but you're hovering in the middle grounds of being proactive and being too passive. So it's just like you fizzle your way out into a 4 to 5 point game. And when you fizzle your way out, it's like you can't even pinpoint what exactly you did wrong. It's like, well, we did our rotations, we prioritized rotations. We tried to fight our way in when we could. We just couldn't anymore effectively at this point in the game. It's like, what? You know, it's that hovering middle ground, which is one of the worst places to be as a competitive team. So instead, you could be very proactive. Take the early game fights. If you win a fight early game, that's 4 points already. Mihi was talking about he hated hovering in that 0 to 5 point mark each game. You take a confident team fight, 4 points, you're already 4 points in.
Exactly.
And you have the whole entirety rest of the game to play to get a couple more points, and instantly your average could go up to 7 points.
Exactly.
Right? If you could just get those 4 points early.
And that's why two things stand out to me on that. One, that's why when I look at kind of points that teams score per game in tournaments, I always highlight the fact that you can have your big games, but it's what points you're gathering outside of those big games. So how many of those kind of 5 games per day are you getting 0 to 5 points or 5 to 10 points, right? That's what I always kind of highlight and look for when I'm looking back and I'm kind of analyzing how teams are performing. And I would argue the off positive angle of how big are looking to adjust their playstyle is automatically they look and feel and come across more dangerous to teams. So in the early parts of the game, teams don't want to go near them, right? They're less wanting to encroach on their area in the circle / in the drop spot. And that's because when you think of Navi and you think of how dangerous they are as a team and kind of how aggressive, nobody really wants to be too near them in North George, right? Or what their pathline is going to be inside the circle. That's going to be the secondary benefit, the kind of rubbing off benefit of how Big are evolving their playstyle.
Yeah, I agree. I would say the next biggest challenge for Big, though, is taking that style adapting it just enough to not lose that type of gameplay style and that confidence into a higher pressure situation like a PMPL or PMGC. I think the most recent team that I've seen falter would have to be Godlike out of India. So, not looking at the PMGC, because I think the PMGC is not a good representation, right? They came into the PMGC at such a big disadvantage. I mean, they're going against global teams.
Yeah,
that have had the game for 3 years straight. So I'm looking at BGIS. So for BGIS, actually, the semifinals, Godlike came out first place overall. Okay. Going into the grand finals, where only the first place team was supposed to, advance on to the PMGC, we saw Godlike have a really good first day, and then all of a sudden, they started playing way differently. Even the casual viewers were able to pinpoint it and point it out. They noticed, like, Circle 4, they're rotating dead center. We always see them just edge around and control a strong position on the edge and just fight their way in. But all of a sudden, they were doing just center rotations. And that's the worry I have with Big. Like, they're always edging around, fighting their way in. But I don't want to see them lose that, what they've been practicing once it gets into higher pressure situation. And they throw it all out the window and rotate center. But they still need to adjust enough to recognize that with points,
for sure.
They do want to rotate center in certain games. So that's the next challenge for Big, I imagine. As Eastern Stars getting a little bit banged up by YMCA of all teams. Eastern Stars.
It was an initial knock on what was a disengagement by Eastern Stars. They didn't really know that YMCA were there, and it was a cheeky little knock onto one of the Eastern Stars players. They then adjusted to try and get a bit of a counter engagement onto YMCA. They suffered a second knock. However, this is a turnaround fight potentially for Eastern Stars. Octavian, as you said, a beautiful nade will connect onto Larix. Knocked down, but not confirmed. Ketu inside the buggy is going to reposition. Athos is knocked as well. So as of right now, it's just 2 Eastern Stars players left alive. This is why Ketu is repositioning to the side of the road and to the side of the area in which Athos was knocked, because he knows that's free, but he does leave King D on his own and technically a 1v2.
Yeah, so I think Eastern Stars recognizes they have a decision to make. Take the 2v1, which they are, because their teammate got confirmed, and that angle right there. Was that grenade or a shot? Okay, it was actually a nice grenade. So Ketu, prioritizing. I mean, I don't blame Ketu. Maybe Ketu was imagining that one of the Eastern Star players will try and get the revive.
Yeah.
So he's going to hold his 1v1 on that side.
Yes.
But instead, Eastern Stars decided, okay, we'll forego our teammate. We'll isolate the 2v1 instead. So both teams doing proactive plays. One just working out a little bit better than the other. But Ketu looking like he is coming back for another revive. For his revive on his own teammate. I like this. Very back.
There is a third party potential by Lemniscate. They're crossing from Military Island. They've opted to go for that eastern bridge rotation as opposed to the western bridge rotation. Versace and S Triple K go to the garage. You have Shesh, as far as I know, that's on that coastal line position. They heard the shots. They were also biding their time because they are coming in a little bit later. They don't really have the relevant information.
Eastern Stars down to 2. Same with YMCA. The third party could be a little bit faster, be a little bit more proactive in poking your head out. I understand their hesitation, though. Octavian. Oh, just as I say that, well, now the third party's got to come out. They just got another knock. This is Lemniscate's elimination points for them to have. They just need to come in and scoop up these 4. But they're still being very slow.
My opinion, Shesh has a useless off angle as of right now. That needs to be a little bit more forward so you can have a controlling level of information on the side.
Oh, I see what Lemniscate's doing. They're getting another off-angle position. So, like
that's much better. That's much better.
I would not mind in a 4v4, but when you're coming into third party, you already have the advantage. Just you need to be faster, be a little bit more direct. Stagger your push 2-2 like front to back, and that works in a third party very easily. In a 4v4, I understand. pressure in, lock down angles, get more openings, and then close it out. But third party, just go a bit more direct. And speaking about direct, Real Tiger 9 getting directly involved with the 4 Romanian men, and 2 of their players go down, possibly more, as the Real Tiger 9 team doing a 180, playing so aggressive today.
I don't think they initially opened the door on the 4 Romanian men. As far as I know from the elimination feed, it was another team. But they're certainly finishing and closing the door on towards 4 Romanian men. As you said, playing with aggression, pushing, but that's a lovely couple of shots by Redox Bot to connect onto Mango. There should have been a bit more communication, in my opinion, from Real Tiger 9 to see that 4 Romanian men were repositioning, but maybe they didn't think Redox Bot would step up. You gotta expect the unexpected. We've seen Big in the elimination feed, by the way, taking a fight against both Galore and now Golden Esports. They are down to 2, though, it seems, as Phase 2 is about to about to show up. Golden Esports repositioning. They only started as a 3-person team. They lost 1.
Big. Getting some multiple angles, and there we go. From the backside, Mazzaro with that DP. I think Big is only down to 2 players as well themselves. Definitely getting into multiple fights.
Yeah, they are. I think so.
I want to see how many eliminations they managed to pick up, though, getting into that 2-way fight. The circle has, by the way, centered on up right there into the fields of Yasnaya. That's where the center of the circle is. Real Tiger 9. That mini with the 8x. Taking some long-range shots at the 4 Romanian men's side. I think they're going to decide to hold down this compound, though, with that new circle shift. This is a pretty good compound. I don't see a real need for them to move anywhere else. Maybe just move somewhere else just to gain some info, but that's pretty much it for the Real Tiger 9 team in this circle shift.
It doesn't help that they lost a player, so I think that eliminates their kind of ability to spread out a bit more and get some information on the northern side of the circle. So yeah, I get why they're staying where they are as a 3-person.
Bravis taking control of Sky Hill here. Very strong position. I like how this player didn't immediately stop here and get out of the buggy. He did a little bit of a peek over and then turn around just in case there were snakes on the other end or a team lying in wait. So that's always a good little thing to do out of habit. Never pull up and stop on your scout. You know, drive around for a second more. See if you can bait out some shots or see some heads peeking out from the grass. So Bravis will take that Sky Hill position. Really strong position for this circle. YMCA down to 2. Pretty sure they're driving into the blue zone to secure another vehicle. Never really want to ride on the back of a buggy if you could prevent it.
Okay, repositioning around. Fear the Flame. Hold. A solid 2-1 split for the time being. How much information do Lemnis Skate have? They don't have much, but they're going in as a full squad. The information has been given over. Communication is key. That's a lovely pre-nade. But unfortunately, Goldie is going to go down to a molly. Yusuf Eagles on his own in the other building. While Perks in Japan now, they're pushing in. The cavalry arriving, but it could be too little too late. Japan going one side, Perks is on the other. Japan gets knocked. Ooh. But again, like, why is Lucifigos so passive when Japan angles on the other side? You gotta have the same game plan. The communication needs to synergize in the right way, and in that moment, it certainly wasn't the case for Fear the Flame.
Yeah, and then Fear just... The defense was bad. I'll go into it a little bit more.
Yeah.
We might see a third party come out from another team getting involved. I think, if I remember correctly, that color might be... Yeah, La Familia indeed. Ooh. This is what I like to see out of a third party. Go a bit more direct, hard, and aggressive. You already have the advantage
look at that.
of the third party. No need to take it slow. Just cross your T's and dot your I's, and you guys should be fine.
Like sharks circling the water. It's a fourth party, though. Just to point that out. Packy 98, Shazmak getting involved. That's going to put a little bit more heavy pressure on them. Wasted. Chucks up a nade, followed by another. This is the final game of the PUBG Mobile Europe Community Tournament, so things are getting hot and heavy as Wasted executes Freezy. Another couple of shots will see Wasted go down. All the while, Evil Boy is now the last player up. He was able to finish Fear the Flame off while Lemon Skate, when it's all said and done, miraculously still have 3 players alive.
La Familia took too many angles. It looked like they were going to go aggressive. I thought they were going to touch the wall and breach the compound when I was
I know.
But they didn't. They sat on the hillside, on the edge, where another team had an angle. So that was definitely a mistake. But D100! D100
oh my god!
Coming in? No, this is just a rotation. Okay, yeah,
but,
they're not coming in to join this fight.
Let's
they're
be
just
fair.
rotating by.
The third partiers became the third party. Chazmak third party onto La Familia, the 100 third party onto them. This is wonderful. This is glorious. This is the 100 just saying, okay, look, we picked up a knock. We're going to avoid you all. We're playing into the circle, which I appreciate. In Lemnis Gate, they kind of heard the shots around them and going, we don't want any more involvement in this. We're just getting the hell out of here.
Lemon Skate do manage to get the hell out of there. Next circle is about to shift on up. I think D100 has crashed onto Real Tiger 9. Yeah. D100 right now, I think they're winning that fight. I see more of them knocked. More of the Real Tiger 9
Just one player left up.
Yeah,
just one player left up.
I think this is one of the few times we've seen these two teams fight each other, both representing the same community. Ooh, and from downrange, Lemon Skate actually getting the finish there onto the Real Tiger 9s.
Interestingly enough, the 100 still left icy on the eastern edge of the circle, by the way. Phase 4 is about to finish off, and we're going to soon see Phase 5. 80 minutes in, we're down to 27 players. That's one thing to kind of highlight, is that we've had a lot of early game action. So what we saw in Sanhok is being echoed in this final game.
Mm-hmm. The action is definitely bleeding all over it. This is the very last match of the entirety of the tournament. We had 3 whole weeks that we have watched these teams grow and slug it out with each other. And the improvement from the various different teams focusing on their various different weaknesses, it's very evident. Really love to see how all these teams are taking it upon themselves as using this opportunity to grow. And that's quite beautiful to see out from, any esports.
Respect still up as a 3-person. They do have the circle. Game Lord now outside of it. They're going to have to breach in, and the opportunity is there. It's tough to hold on to this kind of compound, I feel. Plus, when you have Bravos on the other side that can push you from the other side of the road, it's going to be easier said than done for Respect.
So the 100, I like how they left one player back here, but the rest of the team needed to press on in first to cause the distraction for Icy Boss to take free shots into the side. If D100 push Chasmog Gaming from the left side, Chasmog Gaming will be holding on the right side. Oh my gosh! Icy Boss lasering that player out of the car. Where's the follow-up? I want to see the follow-up. Icy Boss definitely doing more than he needed to. And Game Lord, well, Game Lord with 4 up, looking like they're about to go into the late game and completely. Oh my gosh, Game Lord. It's just always so clean when you watch them play. The grenades don't miss. They always push in together if needed. They always have their angles covered. They can almost do no wrong.
Yeah.
Look at that. I don't think they took a single lick of damage doing that push.
Okay, so I know it was going to be tough for Respect, but I was a little bit disappointed with how much they allowed Game Lord to breach in. How really little their defense was on the edge of that compound, even outside of that circle within the compound. So poor from Respect despite having a good day so far. However, it's also pretty damn hard to get the better of Game Lord or how they're performing in this time. Big down to 2. They took some early fights against the likes of Golden and Glore. They've been rewarded with the 7 eliminations. Now their next fight is going to be on the members of Uncanny. A little bit of a cheeky potential third party as they dip on over. Actually, no, this is a pretty isolated fight, to be fair. It's just Papa left on his own. He does get a knock onto me with that nade.
Oh, what a grenade.
However, Molly on the other side by Mazzaro will keep Papa prone down behind that vehicle.
So you were saying third party,
no.
and you're absolutely right. Game Lord is peeking.
Oh my god, but Mazzaro!
Mazzaro's stuck with sticking that revive as well.
Oh, not quite. Not quite. Great reaction by Mazzaro. I didn't think Game Lord were going to third party, but it also makes sense why they third party on that hill.
100%. The circle's not going to shift for another few seconds. It's about to shift, and we're going to get a good idea of where the next zone's going to go. So Bravis has maintained this position all game long. It's going to be shaping up to be like a Game Lord push with the 100 on the opposite end. I really want to see how Bravis adjusts to this one. It's going to be tough for them to hold out the defense, but it is definitely doable if they focus on the correct sides.
In my opinion, Game Lord should wait until the very last second and push into the compound from the western side. Because if they go down south, or if they could try and breach from the north, the 100 are going to be able to third party. But if they leave it as late as possible, I think that has a better chance of executing them. Like, for example, Narvello gets knocked, and they're kind of trying to play down on the north. So in my opinion, wrap in and come in from the west.
I would agree with that. That could very well work out. Lemon skate down to 1 here. Taking some shots long range. I don't think he has the cards to move on in either. V100 with a really good position. But they do lose Daddy IGL, so they're down 1 player. But it looks like Game Lord will also lose 1 player as Narvello left for dead.
They're going to lose more than 1.
Down.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was really silly from Game Lord. I know it's the last game, and it doesn't take away from how good they've done. But they knew that that really wasn't going to work in my eyes.
Bravis just playing quiet still. They have that compound stolen zone, so they're just going to focus on keeping 4 up. No team really wanting to press in on that 4-man defense. And Lemninske, this player, could easily prone up next close to Bravis and potentially be unheard.
Oh no, he's being spotted out and down he goes. Bravis pick up another elimination point. They're up to 5 and they're into the final 3. Despite Rexpect going down early, once again is still a good trend for the Spanish community across all 4 games today. Kashi, his vehicle's going to get sprayed. He knows he needs to blow that bad boy up, so he has hard cover. He gets it. 2 teams focusing on him though. 100 Bravis, at least for the time being, he is in the circle. That's phase 6. He's going to head into phase 7. Akashi. Oh, you got to wiggle your way around. Unfortunately, he goes down. Reznov gets the final shot.
4v3 situation. I think the 100 will have more zone priority control on the next shift. And, oh, Reznov with a really nice knock right there. I want to see the 100 put a little bit more pressure. Oh, if Spyro goes down here.
Oh, no. How? How did you not see that was going to happen, Spyro? Tunnel vision. Right in front of our very eyes.
He did get a knock, though. He did get a knock with his peak.
I know. Louis does get revived up. So the trade came through, but Will, more importantly, still holding on to the top of the hill. He goes a little bit too far forward. Uh-oh, Spaghetti-O. Louis is going to get the trade. Reznov and Icy Boss, the final 2 players up. Daddy was eliminated earlier on. Reznov repositions around towards the side of the drop. Will get that level 3 sweet gear for his troubles. But that's not going to handle so well as Morphe Boy with the nade. We'll get the knock. This is a Bravis chicken dinner right in front of our very eyes. A little bit disappointing because I was really hoping to have a back-to-back from the 100. But you can't fault the job they've done so far. A win, followed by 2nd place. They'll take it. But it's Bravis with the chicken dinner.
Bravis with a really nice chicken dinner there, picking up quite a few eliminations as well. You saw them, be a little bit more proactive as far as their rotations go. So they got a bit more center of the circle, and this time around, the circles did not hard shift too terribly, so they managed to hold that compound down in for themselves, and they just played the rest of the circles. Pretty much an easy game for them, but nice shots and recovery as well. Good job by the Bravis team.
Game Lord, once again, top 3. Every single game today, they've been top 3. I really feel like they could have won that game if they had have pulled out the rotation execution at least as much of a way how I would have liked to see them do. But either way, 7 kills, the push onto big in the end. You can't fault how they've performed, not only today, but of course, throughout the whole PMECT.
I gotta agree. And that very last fight, we talked about it here and there. Playing split defense a little bit. And in that very last situation, we can almost apply that to the 100, right? So we saw Will at the top of the hill. The 100 got the zone. Bravis had to push across the hill anyways. Now the question is, does Will group up with his team inside the circle to mount that defense, or does he stay out of circle, sacrifice himself, but play it in a way where it'll slow down the Bravis team just enough to make it that much easier for his teammates to close out the game? And in that situation, I feel like if Will just laid prone a little bit down on the right-hand side, where the Bravis team will have to crest and push on through, he'll cause enough distraction and panic. And yes, he will get knocked because he will be the first line of defense in a 1v4. But it will cause enough of a slow distraction for the Bravis side where they can't fully, line up their grenades as comfortably. And then with the blue pressing in behind Bravis' back, they could win a 2v3 defense as far as the 100 is concerned. So I think just a little bit of a critical analysis there, but also applying what we've been talking about throughout the day.
Yeah, 150%. I fully agree. The second Will got knocked, my first thought was, he overextended, he overpushed. His position is the reason why the 100, or his knock, should I say, is the reason why the 100 are going to lose the game. Because him being prone down initially was great because it allowed that kind of tunnel vision of Spyro to get the knock and the kill. And I get him being a little bit more proactive after that point because he needed to kind of suppress. But you can really clearly see he massively overstepped the mark on the top of the hill, because the Bravis players were easily going to look in his direction. They were, of course, because that was the position in which Bravis needed to eliminate. The second they took out Will, they knew they had the game covered, because there's very little hard cover that both Icy and Reznov had down on the underside of the hill. So yeah, unfortunately, that small mistake from Will. Either way, good turnaround from Bravis, and like you said, they rotated a little bit quicker. The circles just weren't as crazy, and it was not only a deserved win from Bravis, but again for the Spanish community as a whole. They've had their ups and downs. They've had some very big downs, in my opinion, but to end the last day in the way that they've had, it's a massive upturn.
Yeah, it's the last day, the last game. And it's good to see a team kind of, ended off strong, especially being team of Bravis. I remember 2 days ago, we saw Bravis play a little bit better, a little bit more consistently. And I threw out the question, is this a real improvement though? Can they keep this going in the next couple of days? And it's still been up and down, but to secure a chicken dinner at the very last game, I think that is overall definitely a sign of somewhat of an improvement, if not a big one.
So we are waiting for the match rankings of the final game. So I kind of want to pick your brains a little bit, or at least kind of ask a bit of a hot fire question.
Okay.
Which team to you has been the most improved team throughout the PUBG Mobile Europe Community Tournament?
Oh, the most improved. That's a tough one. I'll throw out 3 names that come to mind right now. Okay. Big.
Yeah.
V100. And
really?
Yeah.
Okay, go on.
And Real Tiger 9.
across the whole tournament.
Yeah, across the whole tournament. Like, throw me a name that you think I should put in there, and I'll see if I just completely forgot or I'll counter it.
Yeah. First of all, the 100 are not the most improved team in this event, because not only have they been inconsistent, but two, coming into this, I expected a better standard, right? And they've only ever, in my opinion, like outside of today, they've only ever really barely hit that standard, or they've fallen short. I'm sorry, guys. That's my genuine opinion. And if you're talking about most improved team, I'm really surprised you didn't mention Greek Army.
Greek Army. Yeah, okay. Greek Army, that's a team that I forgot. We did not see them play today or yesterday, so they have slipped my mind. But yes, Greek Army, 1000% should be up there. If not, actually, one of the most improved teams. Yeah. So, I'll go real quick. The reason why I picked B100 is just, maybe you're right. They just have either hit it or missed it. But for some reason, there was one day in particular where we saw, I don't think you were casting that one. I think it was me and DK. I think it was that day where we saw 4 consistent, pretty decent games out of the 100 after a pretty long slump. And when I mentioned that slump, you were still there for the point where when they hit it off, they really hit it off. They looked like a team that knew all the fundamentals of what to do, and then they hit a slump. So to kind of see them trend back up towards the end, I wanted to mention the 100.
Okay, fair enough. I'll give you that in that regard. Well, let's have a look at the match rankings of that final game. And the 122 points, again, you take the third game win of 30 points. That's 52 in 2 games. Game 2, they got 5 points. Game 1, they got unfortunately 0 points. So somewhat 2.5 out of 4 games isn't really too bad for the 100. But Team Bravas, lovely chicken dinner.
Yeah, Bravas did get the most amount of points, 15 placement points, 8 elims, and I do believe we will have the overall rankings. So we usually don't have the overall rankings at the end of each day, but this being the last day, the overall rankings will be out. So if you're still here, make sure you tune in and keep watching until we show the overalls. It might take a couple minutes to calculate out, but as far as the last match calculations go, yeah, Game Lord, another top 3 finish. Lemniscate for the Greece side, having a good game, finally putting themselves up there with 15 total points.
I'm doing some quick maths as well in terms of calculating how many points the teams have got across today. And I'm just going to throw one word out. Sorry, I'm going to throw one number out, and you're going to tell me who it's associated with. Okay?
The French side.
Screw you, man. Screw you. Screw you, man.
I mean, great minds think alike.
Yeah.
I don't know the number, though. I don't know the number, but I know.
Yeah. Okay.
Out of the French side.
You know what? See, as you're going to be like, oh, French community. Tell me, how many points did the French community score over the 4 games today?
I would have to go with somewhere around the ballpark area of 108, 107.
Okay. 142 points. The French community.
Oh, wow. Okay, I was way far off. 142.
Yeah.
That's 70. Yeah. That's basically 70 points per team, meaning each team of the French community averaged 70 divided by 4. That's close to 15?
You just take 142 17. And you divide it by 8. Pretty, 142 divided by 8.
Yeah, as you type into your computer the numbers. 17
points per game. Hey, look, you know what? You just gotta be quicker. What can I say?
I'm literally staring at your face cam, and I see your face focused on your. Don't act like you can do those quick maths on the screen. You're not gonna pull one over on me, Imperium. Especially not the last and final day. Okay, we're not gonna.
Okay. I use a calculator. Okay, you know.
Oh man.
Still amazing. Just absolutely amazing. 17 points. Like that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
It is. So let's go back to the topic real quick. Most improved team, right?
Yeah, okay.
So I think Greek Army are big then, right?
Yeah. No one big. No one big. I'm sorry, but when I say yes, they deserve to be highlighted and recognized on what they've trained in this event. And how much they've improved in terms of their early game aggression and how we did see an improvement in their late game closing. But again, within this lobby, we should be seeing that from them automatically, right? Because we've been seeing it from Game Lord. Only more consistently from Game Lord. Whereas most improved teams, you got to take the context of it. And yes, 100% Greek Army and also 100% Real Tiger 9.
Okay. All right. Okay. Greek Army or Real Tiger 9? Well, I think I would have to go with Greek Army because they were quite literally the least amount of scoring team for like how long? For like a week and a half, maybe. Yeah, for a good week and a half. We saw Greece actually overall as a community in last place, and then we saw the Greek Army being the weaker of the two Greece teams for a good amount of time.
Yeah,
and then out of nowhere, I think in the later half of the second week, we were
I fully agree.
We saw them. I wouldn't say they popped off, but we saw them like all of a sudden each game getting at least 5 points, 4 points. Where they have been averaging 0 to 1 the whole entire time. We saw them take more initiative. We saw them be a bit more comfortable in taking fights. We saw them be more proactive. It was like a flip was switched and they realized they were doing something wrong. And just like that, we saw them being a contending team in the lobby. Not the best, or I wouldn't even say above average, but a dynamic shift of being like literally the last place team out of the 20 in terms of points scored per game.
For sure.
To putting up points game by game. So yeah, I think I would have to go with the Greek Army.
In today's games, gotta give props to UK with 77 points scored, and then Spain real quick before we get to the overall. They got 87 points in today's game. So fair play to those two communities in the final day. But this is it. Zute, are you ready to have a look at the overall standings?
3 weeks of gameplay have all surmounted to this very moment. The overall scores of 3 hard weeks of work from these teams, from us casting, the journey. Yes, I'm ready to see the overall rankings.
Well, let's go. Let's show you the overall rankings. Of course, we didn't know coming into pretty much today or after game 1, France dominating as a community, 1,194 points. That is a whole 159 more points than Romania in second place with 1,035. Germany ending in third with a shy 940 points. That's their top 3. We're not really surprised, but what a way for it to finish.
Yeah, France, Romania, Germany, congratulations on the top 3. And Italy at one point was vying between second and fourth, but we saw and we iterated it. We are not sure what happened with the Italy side. They really fell off towards the last and third week, and it shows that point gap is near 200 points, where at one point, it was only like a 50-point difference between second and fourth place, if not closer of a gap. Going into fifth place, we do have the Nordic countries. I think the Nordic countries did pretty well. They hung in there. They played pretty well. Could have done better, but wasn't a disappointing performance by them whatsoever. But the later half of the table, this is what we wanted to keep an eye on, because this was where it was shifting a lot. United Kingdom 565, and even though Bravis got that chicken in at the very last game, they fall 6 points shy of passing up the United Kingdom. Czech Republic dropping down into 8th. They actually started off today in that 6th place spot, but of course, not having too great of games, they will fall down. Greece finishing off in 9th, and Portugal off in 10th place.
Yeah, and nothing massively against Team Glore. I know they definitely could have performed better, but you could argue even coming into this, they were the least experienced and kind of weakest team, and they were on their own in today's games as a sole Czech Republic / Slovakian representatives. So it made sense that UK and Spain overtook them. It was also just even exaggerated with the fact that both UK and Spain had a very good day today. So congrats to the UK for jumping back up into 6th, and Spain ending up in 7th. It's a really fantastic way to end this tournament. We do have a graphic just to once again highlight the top 3 communities in the PMECT, the PUBG Mobile Europe Community Tournament, the very first European tournament with this kind of format, right, Zute? You have 20 teams, you have 2 from each community, 10 communities in total. It's a beautiful format, in my opinion, and something that could be pulled out in an international level, because it's great fun. It's great for bringing the communities together, and it's super entertaining.
Yeah, I think it would be cool to see this happen more at even higher levels of team play, right? And almost, I want to say, have the prize pool to be just big enough where if, you know, the 2 community teams just start to talk a little bit more in the sense of figuring out, like, okay, you're going to rotate this way in these type of circles, we'll rotate this way in these type of circles. So it becomes even more of a team game. But of course, I don't want to see them just grouping up as 8 players on a team, right? That will change fundamentally how the competitive aspect is played. I don't want to see that happen. But just enough of a prize pool incentive where they each play their own game, but they have a good idea on the wayside, just what their counterpart teammates are doing in this circle situation, and vice versa. And I think that would be a really cool thing to see. At the end of the day, though, it's a cool dynamic to have more than just your 3 teammates. For sure. You have someone else to cheer for. You know, like, when one thing that I really grew to love about spectating and being a caster is I could cheer for these teams. Back when I was a competitor, the only team I'm cheering for is myself. I don't want anyone else to do well but my team. But in this type of game setting, you can be a competitive player and still have someone to cheer for that's going to be helping you secure the points for that overall prize pool. So I think this format's really cool. I would love to see some more of it.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Like, it's just, it's a different kind of format. I know in the Star Challenge, in the European Star Challenge, they were experimenting last year with a different kind of prize pool, for example, and the structure around that, influencing from the Squid Games-esque kind of element. And this is something different because it's really important that we do experiment with different kind of formats, because it breaks away from the norm of the I suppose the Super Series ecosystem, and it allows these teams to not only have a bit more fun, but also, like Mihi highlighted to us, allow the teams to train different aspects or different playstyles in a bit more of a serious capacity, because they don't really get it from scrims. So that's super positive with these format-based tournaments.
And since you mentioned it, yeah, scrims sometimes are not the best practice, right? When there's no money involved, when there's nothing like pride on the line, teams play it not as seriously, to put it quite simply. As much as, you know, everyone would like to be super competitive and take all their practices seriously. It's just simply not the case. And another aspect of the whole community thing is you're representing not just your team, you're representing a region. So there's kind of like almost more pride to be shown on the line, and that's like another incentive for all of these teams to take it seriously. Like we saw Rexpect, they're nowhere close in that top 5, but in that Sanhok game, when a lot of teams were just fighting and kind of like having a more fun time with Sanhok, they still, played it quite seriously, went for the med strat when they realized they don't have a good chance of making it into the next circle, and they try to secure as many points as they can for not just themselves, but for their region. So that was really beautiful to see.
So we do have the podium, like I said, with the prizes that each community has earned themselves. France, from day one, they look strong. It was first led by Game Lord. Then Chasma came into the mix. And together, throughout the second half of the tournament, they succeeded and succeeded and succeeded. $3,000 US goes to the French community. For Romania, they put up a hell of a hard fight. Got themselves $2,000 in second place.
And in third place, of course, Big. And the side of LMV, or now known as Fear the Flame, right? I've gotten so used to the LMV name, but honestly, I like Fear the Flame. Fear the Flame, back to their roots, like you mentioned, right? Fear the Flame and Big securing that 1,000. So really good job by these 3 communities winning that money, getting that prize pool. A little bit of money is definitely nice, but I think the bigger thing is like they had fun with it. They all 6 of those teams that we mentioned. Got a lot of practice in, refined a lot of their strengths, improved upon their weaknesses, and I think if we were to ask these players, they would be, happy with the money. But I think overall, as competitive players, like even the player from Big mentioned, they just like enjoying a nice setting to practice and improve on. Like he sent you, that one player from Big sent you a very long message, and he highlighted, we're using this tournament to be able to practice because these matches are just at a better level and teams take these matches more seriously in scrims. And as an ex-competitor myself, I think I would much rather have that than, just some extra, pocket change. But money is money. Money is nice, but the practice is definitely what these teams enjoy.
Yeah, because it's very much about kind of getting through this 2022 ecosystem. It's a bit of a restructure, but it also is rewarding for the teams that put in the time, put in the effort, lay the foundations, and then the fruits of their labor hopefully should come to fruition, right? If you plant a flower and you water that flower, you nurture it, you look after it in its early stages, it's gonna bloom. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to come up in an absolutely fantastic way come the summertime. That's what each and every one of these teams are looking to do in the early parts of this year with these kind of tournaments. But this is it. 15 amazing days of action. I really can't calculate how many games, but it's been so many games. And I just want to say thank you to every single person involved, from the teams, the players, to production, to yourself. It's been so much fun. It's been entertaining. It's been enjoying. And every single day has been an improvement, both in action, outside of action, and otherwise. So on that note, I'm going to allow you to close out the stream.
I think you couldn't have said it any better. So I also want to give a thanks to the viewers yourselves for being part along with the journey. Hopefully this was a very entertaining tournament for you guys. And even though this tournament might be coming to an end, the teams you have watched, the teams that you have cheered on for or grew to love, their journey doesn't end here. This is just another little stepping stone for them to improve and continue to work their way up. Either they're already in the PMPL, or maybe next year with this new restructure, they're going to be working their ways towards the PMPL for next year. So the journey doesn't end for the teams, nor does it end for you guys at home and us. I think, we all could take something away from this in a positive light. And so I think I'm going to end it off with that one. And until then, Imperium, I'll see you very soon. I can't say where and when and why, but I'll be seeing you very soon, and hopefully I'll be seeing some of you guys in the chat soon as well. And thank you to the production crew. And that does it for us. Thank you guys for all watching. Hope you guys all take care and have a safe one.